All right, it's your buddy, it's your pal, it's your friend, David Wilcock, live on YouTube. Hopefully every Sunday, if we can get in there. And I am doing it again, folks. I am here. I am here in the flesh, ready for you for another exciting and fun-filled show. We've got some really good science coming in this week. Some good sacred science that directly fills in the cracks of what we were doing last week. This episode is called Keeping Your Harmony. And this is a very, very important principle right now because we are being challenged like never before. Had a little bit of flack from somebody saying, oh, you spend too much time talking to people in chat. Well, I like the chat. I like talking to people in chat. It's fun. You guys all bet on the shirt, and those of you who bet on pink came out in the lead. I decided I'd do something that was a little nice for the camera to brighten it up a bit because people were saying they couldn't really see me very well last week. So pink it is. Anyway, Keeping Your Harmony is our title here. And I again want to emphasize that it is a true honor and privilege to have you folks out there with me today. I want to thank you so much for your presence and for your commitment to be a part of this show, to be here with me now. And yes, I do want to read some comments because it's a live show and that's part of what we do. We interact with our audience on a live basis. Hello, David, you look good. That's a great start. People said, pink shirt, I like the shirt. We like the chat, chill out. Prince Royal, you look great, David. I would never miss it. All right. Thank you for all you do. I appreciate you. Thank you for being a part of my awakening. You rock, says Vibe High. Awesome. You look great always, but more importantly, your service is so appreciated. Well, thank you, guys. I'm really glad to be here with you. Maria Otranto says, my godmother passed away. Can you say a prayer for her, please? Yes. Father, Mother, God, please pray for Maria Otranto's godmother. We are grateful to you. Please help her have a nice, smooth transition. We thank you very much. Amen. All right. Will you take me on a date? Well, I guess, you know, those proposals kind of show up at random and you don't really know who it is or what's going on. So it would be kind of hard to say yes or no. I guess a lot of people are onboarding right now. So my picture is very blurry, but do you guys see it okay? Is the picture sharp? I must admit, this is my favorite shirt I've seen on you. It is very complimentary. Says, my Magalgore. Well, thank you very much. Yep, the shirt matches the background lights perfectly. It's a good look. Okay, so just again, if you can tell me, the picture is fine. Okay, so this is just because a lot of people are onboarding. Video and audio are good. It looks sharp. Okay, perfect. Let me just make sure that I got everything. Yeah, everything looks good here. All right. So, wow, the picture is perfect. Everybody says picture looks sharp. That's excellent. Just want to make sure. Somebody said the Bills should have won last night. I guess there was football. Picture looks great in the UK. John Carter just donated. And yeah, thank you very much. He's the first one. Picture and sound is great. Is your laptop still working? Yes. By some absolute miracle, my laptop actually worked. I've got some slides for that, which we'll get to that in just a minute. Sharp as a tack, brother, says Davy Joe Weaver. Thank you very much. On to the harmony. Well, okay, so everybody says we got good audio and video. That was really my main concern. My picture quality for my own... Oh, it's starting to clean up now. It's starting to look good. Okay, great. So anyway, we're definitely getting back to the basics here. Can I please be your first female test driver for the hover car, says Rosa Trzynski. Well, I don't know. Well, the hover car is supposedly going to be happening pretty soon. Oh my goodness. Look at this. We had a donation for $333, man. It's off to a good start here. That helps me greatly. RW Phoenix, thank you, David, for your wisdom and strength. Have been watching since you began years ago. May peace, love, and light be upon you and us all from New Hampshire. Namaste. Great. Mary Rendon and David, I've been watching you for years. Thank you for your podcast. You wake up a lot of people. I'm always happy when I can watch the information you put out. Well, you should be very happy today because what I did is I followed up on the show that we had last week. We had a really great show last week. Keep writing your comments. I'll be coming back to them. And the show last week had some really cool stuff in it about photons. It was called the Photon Matrix. If you haven't already seen that, check that out. Because at these times where we're being constantly challenged, I want to make sure that we are exerting an ongoing effort to focus on the positive and keep that alive. So keeping your harmony is absolutely essential in these times. It is absolutely essential that we focus on the positive, that we understand what the heck is going on, that we're focused on keeping ourselves happy, keeping ourselves in alignment, keeping everything on a good track. That is so important right now. We have to do that, okay? It's very, very significant. Keeping your harmony, again, absolutely essential. And put a little stuff on my nose here, so just give me a second for that. Make it look better for you guys. There we go. Okay. And scene, we're back. My nose was kind of red. I had to do a little color adjustment here, but we have that. David, I'm reading the Ascension Mysteries for the first time. I love it. I'm trying the mild technique. That's mnemonic induction of lucid dreaming. I've since seen gray UFO cloud-like craft in my dreams. You are right about the universe. Excellent. Last week was a great show, says Truth Floats. Well, you're not going to be disappointed, folks, because I took that same thread, that same basic understanding. I got a little bit more touch-up that I got to do here. So again, let's go back to this. Keeping your harmony is absolutely essential. And let's get those cheeks. We don't want to be too dark, and that's something I got to do. So look at that. We had another donation come in just while I took a little makeup break. This is Little Tiny Joe. And good evening, David. Looking forward to today's show. Thank you as always. Namaste. Thank you very much, Little Tiny Joe, or just Joe. No worries, David. You look great, says Carolina Patriot. Hi from Oman. We have people watching in Oman. Blessings and thank you for always coming through for us all. I'm still learning from last week's show. One person says I cannot hear anything, but everybody else seems to be fine. Wanda Jarima donated earlier. Did you not get it? Yes, I did get some donations through other links, so thank you if you did that. I really do appreciate that very much. All right, let's not dilly-dally around. We got a lot of work to cover today. We got a lot of good things. Again, once more, we had crazy weather, and it was like 4 days of frickin' wind in a row. And I was thinking, man, I'm just not feeling this. I just don't want to do a show right now. Not in the mood at all. But right now, today, the weather's actually fine. And so here I am. I actually made it happen. Got myself involved in what I needed to do to get on the air for you guys. And here I am. So, okay, you guys are doing good. Everybody says the sound is good. Try refreshing your browser. That's right. Sunny Skies just posted a donation link. We appreciate that. If I was going to do an over Unity device, should I patent it or open source it? Well, apparently DARPA intercepts patents for anything that's disruptive. And so if you tried to patent something disruptive, it probably would never even go through. That's what we've heard from insiders before. Yeah, everybody says sound and video is fine. That's good. So anyway, it's so rough, isn't it, man? I mean, like right now, we have so many things going on, and in my own life, apart from all the other stresses in the world, we got the weather. And bear in mind, too, that this is like the whole east coast of America is being hit with yet another polar vortex. It's similar to the last one. And apparently there could be 4 or 5 more rounds of this throughout until the end of January. So we are being hit really hard right now. And also Europe at the same time that it's happening in America, we also have Europe going through really intense cold and wind. So it's like this very, very heavy thing. And right now we're in the middle of a 4-day bout of high winds and cold, although at the particular moment that I'm doing this show, there is no actual high wind going on. It's very quiet. But this is what it looked like when I was first, thinking about whether I'm going to do a show or not on Thursday night. You can see that it's wind, 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 Friday, Saturday, Sunday, straight through. Now somehow today we've got actually good weather, which is fantastic. Then it again showed up on Tuesday. So also you see there it says red flag warning. Well, that's because we have a fire risk due to the fact that we've had no snow at all. It's been going on for a long time. So then you get to worry at your leisure every time the wind comes up. Oh my God, what if we have a fire too? So it's it's been a real pain in the butt, to say the least. It's not fun right now being here in the middle of all this. I created that slide on Friday, or was it Thursday night, I guess. And then the wind appeared to extend another 4 days through this week. So again, we have, this is the slide I showed you before, the red flag warning. And then as of Saturday, yesterday, this is what it was showing me. So look at that. Now it looks like we're going to have wind on Sunday when the show would happen. We'd have snow on Monday, and then not enough to really actually accumulate, though. And then we have Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, we have wind all going on again there. So very intense stuff. Carolyn says, I only watched about half of last week's show. I'm tuning in live to this one. Well, thank you for being here. I do not like what the commercials are doing. They start butting in with a split screen. You can't close them. Sorry about that. But hey, you know, if you get YouTube Premium, you don't have to watch any commercials. I have it. It's definitely, I think it's worth it. So just bear that in mind. Let's make sure I didn't miss any other comments or any other donations, anything important. No, we're doing good so far here. And we've already got 1,575 people. That is really incredible. Uncle Punky says, I just finished shoveling snow off the driveway. Watching you is my reward. All right. Maria Davis, are you upset with me? No, maybe somebody in the moderator thing happened once in a while. Anyway, YouTube Premium is worth it. I have not seen Michio Kaku's latest YouTube video on 3i Atlas. You want to tell me what's going on? We can do that. Yes, I would love to move. We're just not at the point where I can do that yet. So I have to keep going through all this weather. So again, this weather forecast was really crazy, man. It was like, man, let's not get stuck in this stuff all week. But yet, look at this. It's like, wow, you got to see that, you know, that's a lot of endurance test, especially Tuesday. It's going up to like 35. That means it's going to be really noisy. I'm very glad that actually today it's not so bad. And now, as of today, I just looked at it. Forecast is looking better. So we have mostly sunny for today. Wind is supposed to be happening, but it hasn't started yet, so maybe it will later. And then Monday we get a mostly sunny day. That's great. So now it's only Tuesday and Wednesday, and it's not happening on Thursday. Now I might jinx it as a result of showing this, but anyway, that was very intense. So I have been through a hero's journey, the likes of which you cannot imagine. If you did not know what was going on, oh yes, that's right, hit the like button. That's very important. So the first 2 days of this week were incredibly scary, because if you watch the end of my last show, then you know why. What was the answer? Well, I accidentally dumped a glass of water into this laptop that I'm now using to do these slides. This is the same laptop. I have it right here. Here it is, okay? And you saw me holding it up, and you saw me having all these problems and water pouring out of it, and I'm holding it upside down and all this stuff. That was so scary, man, because you know, typically when you get water into a machine like this, they never come back. They're dead, and that's the end of the story. So we have 2 donations that just showed up here. We have Leanne Boudreau and Edith Feinstein. Thank you both very, very much. Leanne says, thank you, David, for bringing it today. Happy anniversary to everyone and my parents. Upcoming February 1st, 62 years of marriage for Herman Lee and Mary Smith. All right. So yes, if you donate, we pretty much, unless it's like a troll comment or self-promotion, then we will usually read it on the air, and that helps with everything. Yes, thank you, Lord, the laptop is okay. I could not believe it, because here we are on the air, and it was just like, you got to be kidding me. I'm going to lose my freaking computer, because part of the problem, you guys, was that I did not have backups of data. So there was like 4 years worth of stuff that I had not backed up, and I just hadn't thought about it. I just assumed that I'm a very safe person. My laptop is always safe. I take really good care of it. I'm not going to do anything dumb. Never thought about the idea that maybe perhaps it could have gotten stolen. Maybe perhaps something really crazy and freakish could happen like this, but it did. Yesterday I dunked my phone. It acted up for a few hours, but it's okay now, says Astorama. Now I have backups. I did make a backup, and I'm good. And everything is great. So supposedly, It might have problems in the future, but right now it doesn't. My brother has worked as a Mac repair technician, so he says, yes, there's a possibility in the future that you could have problems, but you know, I'm already through the 1 week mark, and the first 2 weeks are the most important. It's been running like a dream, so I could not believe it. So try to bear in mind how intense this was, guys, that I spent 2 days believing I had lost all of my data for the last 4 years. And so, you know, 2 days where I'm not going to turn it on because everybody in the comments here, and thank you for that, was saying don't turn it on. So this was a big exercise in keeping my harmony, man. Yet again, I'm being initiated by the universe. I get these crazy, crazy challenges. It's like, wow, it just is almost inconceivable. The suffering and the pain that caused me, the fear. I just said, man, there's no way when I turn that computer back on that it's going to start up again. But I still had to wait on the offhand chance that maybe, just maybe, it would be okay. So those 2 days were incredibly rough, but by some amazing miracle, my laptop actually survived the water intake. It is so incredible. I am so happy. We have more donations coming in. Axel Russ, David, I've been watching you for so long. You've given me so much hope and calm in life. Thank you for everything. Watching from northern BC. Clinton says, homeward stretch, David. Glad to be here. That's Clinton 867. All right, you guys, and we're already up to 1,700 plus viewers. That's going really great. 1775 is what it's showing me right now. And yes, external backups are very, very important. David learned the lesson. You have to back up all your data. Well, it's working fine right now. And did you get blessed by the Queen? I don't know. I don't know if there was a Queen involved or not. But anyway, we felt your pain last week. Thank God your laptop is okay. Yes, let's hope that it continues to be that way. I'm continuing to pray over it and hope that it's all going to be fine. So we're just going to take it one day at a time. But again, I am backing up my data. I'm keeping that much more consistent now because, again, if I do have to go to the other laptop now, I will be able to do so. Yep. So anyway, thank you guys for enjoying the show. Yes, it's perfectly fine for a man to wear pink. No big deal. I can get by with that just fine. So again, we're doing really well. We're only 17 minutes in. We're already up to 1,800 viewers now. So I did go 2 full days without turning it back on again, absolutely believing that my machine was going to be gone. And man, was that scary. And the other problem that happened was after the show, I'd already gotten it turned off and shut down. But while I was trying to get more of the water out, I accidentally turned it on again, and then it shut down in the middle of its boot sequence. So it actually was booting, and then it would go black, and I was like, oh my God, the computer is toast. There's no way I'm going to recover this. And you guys are all geeks, so you understand that. Martyr333 says, I've been following forever. He donated, own all your books. You inspired me to read The Law of One. That's right. Glad that I did that. That's lawofone.info, by the way, and it's free over there. And we had another donation, Sherry King. Richard and Sherry, wish you well. Thank you very much. So we're already doing great here, and I'm happy, you know, wanted to get the pink rocking for you guys because harmony is, pink color is a good harmony color, I think. So anyway, lots of good stuff is happening in the world. But again, I went through a very intense challenge of like fearing that I had lost my laptop, that I had lost all this data. And again, 4 years worth of data with no backups. This included the dreams that I write down in the morning. If I remember anything, I write them down. Can you imagine not having that anymore? It's like, oh my God, really? So it was just a very intense and very challenging situation. But also, almost all of the recent slide presentations, let's mess with my hair a little bit here, get it a little fluffier. Almost all of my slide presentations were on there as well, dude. So it's like, you know, this is, oh yeah, I had the wrong thing going. You got to see me mess with my hair from the side view. All right. Praise Master Jesus. Pink is more flattering than gold. Well, thank you for that. It does seem to match the set pretty nicely. I do agree. So anyway, yeah, most of the slide presentations would have been gone. And that was just really, really sad. So I was just in incredible trauma. And that's why, again, I practice what I preach. I kept my harmony, even though I was very concerned and I wasn't sure if I'd ever get my computer back. I just tried to maintain as positive of an attitude as possible. So even if the laptop did end up dying on me now, I've got all my data, and that's what really, really matters. Machines are replaceable. The data was not going to be replaceable unless, I went through some elaborate data recovery scheme. So now I've created a full backup, thank God, and I am incredibly happy to have the laptop fully operating. This was another incredible example of a test of faith where it seemed impossible to think that this would actually work out, but yet somehow it did. And this is just the latest example of a recurring phenomenon where, you're dealing with these stresses of life and things look like they're really dire and like they're really bad and it's not going to work out for you, and then they do. And I still have more of those on the horizon, so please keep praying for me. We definitely need some more miracles to occur here, but hey, you know what? Miracle happened. It was a great thing. I'm very, very pleased about the way this turned out. Also, it's not that big of a deal for most people, but I had to do a big DMV trip on Wednesday to go get my permanent license plates for my new vehicle. It was very exhausting doing all that driving, 51 minutes each way. So by the time I got home, I was really tired. And then the very next day, okay, enough about your computer, says Gregory. Man, you guys are mean to me, huh? It's like, it's a hard audience, I'll tell you. But anyway, we're trying to keep things happy. We're trying to keep things good. I'm just very pleased that I've got my life and that I've got my health and I've got my computer. These things really, really matter. Oh no, the DMV. That's right. Yeah, it's quite something. So I thought he said DMT. No DMT. Moonat back just donated. Thank you very much. And we are approaching 1,900 concurrent viewers now. So that's good. So anyway, the very next day after I did all this driving is when we had our high wind and cold weather starting to happen, where the wind is howling and the air was incredibly cold with only a high of 22 degrees. And this was from the polar vortex that is pounding the entire East U.S. side of America. It has been very difficult, to say the least, because again, that kind of cold with this house is not a good formula. The house is not insulated very well. And so as a result of that, you have problems that occur with it being cold all the time. In fact, today I'm wearing really warm clothes down here just to make sure that if radiant cold starts seeping in, that it doesn't get too bad. Cindy J donated $50. Thank you very much. We need more of those. And I love it when people do this. So you look great in any color. So glad to catch your show live today, she says. I look forward to seeing you every week. Thank you so much. That is right. So Scarlet Fire is giving us a whole class here in the comments about the sons of Belial. That was in the Casey readings. Those who used their powers for selfish gain and control of others. That is one of the things the Casey reading said. I will pray for you, David, says Sarah Love. Thank you very much. My friends have also had major events in their lives, without going into detail. Some of these have been very, very disruptive. But then again, other ones are scare events, like where my friend Arthur, thought that maybe he was going to have brain surgery. It turns out that he doesn't, that everything's fine. That was a wonderful turnaround. So you continue to take the good with the bad. You continue to have the ups and downs. And we pray for Jude's daughter. She's got a situation that now is a health issue that we have to deal with. So that's one of the things we're looking at. There's other things that have happened as well. Pay no attention to the man behind his computer screen. That's right. We get trolls, but that's okay. We're not scared of the trolls. We keep it real. All right. I'm going to get a little bit of water going. I'm only going to put enough water in this glass now to just kind of like keep myself happy for short bursts of time, but not the whole glass. Oh, okay. Interesting. Amin Nazruddin says, it's Amin from Oman. My team has made a free energy device and field tested it. We'll be receiving it to Oman and email you on Stavati to talk shop. Cheers. Yes, we definitely would love that. We would love to get something into production if that could work out okay. So that's all good. So the bottom line is that we have both negative and positive events occurring at the same time, which means our sense of harmony has been under assault like never before. So this is why, again, just like last week, just like the week before, so many things are going on that are so intense right now. It's very, very challenging. And so my message today is a message of hope. It's a message of positivity. Man, you guys, pitter patter, let's get at her. Okay, fine. I got to give you some personal information, but anyway, Michael Sala has to get heart surgery most likely. Can we pray for him? Yes, we definitely. Father, Mother God, let's please pray for Dr. Michael Sala and hope that he is safe and protected as he goes through this. Starseed Essence donated $50 and says something about harmony. Harmony is not the absence of difference, but the resonance of distinct waveforms into a singular coherence. That's exactly the point of today's show. It is the song the universe sings when every part remembers it is the whole, through phase, not force. I love it. Thank you very much. Michio Kaku's video was made by a person not associated with him. Do click on the icon so you understand that it's for entertainment. I guess it's an AI thing. He could get sued. Okay, interesting. Yeah, there's definitely deep fakes going on. That's one of the things that people are having to deal with now. Sorry that you guys are going through cold and everything. So our sense of harmony is under assault like never before. We have multiple situations going on at the same time, each of which could potentially scare you, like the Cuban Missile Crisis. I'm not trying to be negative, I'm just being honest. We really have never had a situation like this in the world before. First of all, the RU thing goes on with no treaty yet. It just keeps on dragging along. We've got the Venezuela situation, which is still, you know, like if you're an American, you don't want to be there right now. That's one of the things that's, and then there might be other nations that could have this happen to them as well. There's still a strike force out there. So, you know, they seem to be cooperating. They seem to be saying, you know, let's try to work together. Let's try to do something positive. And I think that's a very wise move under the circumstances. Thank you. Thank you. Why would everybody tell David what to talk about? Just chill. Thank you. I really appreciate that. You know, David needs like a Stanley Cup, so when it spills, there's no worries. I don't know what a Stanley Cup is. I guess like a chalice or something. Okay, anyway. We also have this escalating thing going on in Minnesota, where now the governor has his own National Guard, and they're calling up 1,500 active duty troops on standby. Man, look at this right here. This is, again, one of the alliance sources that we've seen before. So, yeah, that could be, you know, we're looking at the possibility of very intense stuff that we've really never seen in America in a very, very long time. And it could get really weird and crazy. So, sorry about that, you guys. You know, sorry that this is happening. That's right. You know, I don't want to say it out loud, but yes, Paul is on the right track there. It looks as if many things that we were told about are moving forward, but it's happening in a way that is a lot scarier than I thought it would be, to be honest with you. So that's why we got to keep our harmony. That's why we got to keep our positivity. And again, this situation is very rapidly escalating right now. It could even turn into something this coming week. Plus, we also have the other situation. You know about that. The tariffs were just placed. And, you know, that's, again, something that has pretty much everybody on edge, because it threatens at the same time that we have the possibility of things happening here in America. We have the possibility of negative things happening with Europe. And, you know, it's pretty intense that way. So, anyway, you know, okay, well, sunny skies, you can do longer timeouts if you want to, you know, that's okay. Anyway, what we see here is that there is a big focus on how we get through this with our harmony intact. That's what I want to focus on today's show. At least in the situation with Iran, it hasn't gone any farther. They've stopped apparently hurting people, but we still don't really know. There was a statement they made earlier in the week that I thought was pretty reassuring, and it helped me calm down, where they said, "No war will be fought. Stand down order was given." And then after that is when we saw this, where, that there would be a tariff of anybody doing business of 25%. And then this particular individual, BC, says he's taking the non-military option for now, squeezing them out of there and returning them to Western aligned status. And this is all being undone. So then this was it showing up on a website that I like to go to, ZH. The killing is stopped, de-escalation, and there is calm. We are in full control. Then they also published this earlier, which was that the vice president apparently wanted something more aggressive, but the close advisors are urging caution. So again, this is good. Let's hope that this is how it's going to work out, that it stays that way, because again, it's like, wait a minute, we got Europe, we got that one, we got domestic in America. It's all happening at the same time. It's just so wild, isn't it? It's like, wow, keeping your harmony's never been more important than it is right now. Rosebud Adkins donated, says right here, love you, David. I followed you for many years. Grateful for what you share. Prayers are always with you. And then Beverly Adams, Mike Lindell, for campaign manager, taught us a group in Wisconsin how to hand count. Yeah, okay, I can't say the rest of that. But anyway, yes, thank you very much. Anyway, Patricia Moran just donated as well. Wow, it's flying in here. Thank you guys very much. And we're now up to 2,132 viewers. That's pretty darn good. Yes, rest in peace, Eric von Daniken, as well. So I don't know about you, but, I want to be confident and I want to be, positive as much as possible. But I will admit that these are challenging things. And then, practical techniques is part of what we're going to be talking about today, just in terms of doing meditation and breath work and keeping yourself, calm in the midst of these scare events. It definitely looks as if we're heading into a very big nexus point in time, doesn't it? All these things are converging, they're coalescing, they're coming together all at the same time. It's very intense. And imagine if people don't even like, the people in power, and they're upset about it anyway. And then you have this happening on top of all of it. It's like, wow, imagine how they're feeling. If you actually, a lot of the people in this audience are fairly cool with what's going on, but at the same time, we're all being challenged. So you got to stay positive. Morality, not mortality, says Muran 4. That's a good one. And so, current events are scaring the crap out of me, says Vega. I can't watch. I had to tune out for my health. That's right. But again, I don't think this is going to keep on going like this forever. I think we're really building up to something. They already told us the next 9 days are critical. It builds up to a date in mid-February. So I think that there's probably going to be a tension resolution cycle where the tension builds up and then eventually it resolves. Let's hope that's what happens. Hopefully we can avoid any further escalation out there in the Middle East. But the story just keeps getting weirder and weirder. We're not going to talk about all the weird stuff that's going on, but it's, the idea of agitation being created from an external source that may not be what we thought it was in order to provoke all this crazy stuff going on. That's what is now being talked about in the zeitgeist. That's one of the things that people sent me. Somebody said, you should do a show about this. I'm like, no, not right now. We gotta, keep it as positive as we can. And honestly, I never imagined a future quite like this. So, we're not going to keep on dragging you through stuff, but the world news is in a constant state of flux. This is true, which poses a very unique adaptive challenge for all of us. I do believe that we are going to get through this. And so again, we are well advised to keep our harmony intact. Why? Because the science shows us that our frame of mind directly affects the outcome. How you think manifests reality in a way that is said right by the Buddha, as we said before, quoting from the Dhammapada, we are what we think. With our thoughts, we make the world. And that is a very, very intense, loaded statement that has, truth in it beyond imagination. So we are going to discuss that very fact with more scientific evidence as we go on. So I actually found this. This was something my neighbor printed out and he handed it to me. He just texted it to me as a file. But it says that the saying, We have Catherine Hurst, who donated. Thank you very much. She says, thank you for all you do for us. Love, peace, and calm is a must during these challenging times. I totally agree. Couldn't agree more. Yep. And then we also have Victor, who just donated 589 SEKs, which sounds like sex, I guess. But anyway, thank you very much for that. Ooh. Okay. Getting a little wild here. Yes, we need to pray for peace. That is the main reason why I want to be able to be here for you guys today, is that it is scary, it is wild, and I want you to feel happy. I want you to feel safe. I don't want you to be going through needless panic and concern when there's ways out of this, and we go back to the fundamentals. So this was a really cool thing that, you know, has some good philosophical resonance, where it says, worrying is like paying a debt that you don't owe. Anxiety over future problems is a waste of energy and emotion because the problems you're worrying about may never happen, much like paying for something you never bought. So you must have gotten this off of AI or something, but the AI is right. And look at what happened with my laptop. I was very, very negatively focused, thinking, man, there's just no way I'm going to get out of this. I'm totally screwed. There's no way out. And then sure enough, the whole thing ended up resolving in a very, very beautiful fashion. So go figure, huh? It highlights that worry doesn't solve anything and only causes suffering in the present, which is pointless. Totally agree there. No. And then it says waste of energy. You are expending mental and emotional energy on something that is not real or is unlikely to occur. Well, I mean, there are things that are real, but we don't really know how these events are going to turn out. And so I see lots of stuff on social media, these bot accounts that are probably from the intelligence community and not even real people. And they're always framing. They frame everything badly. They frame everything in a negative context. And so you got to be really careful about reading things, and just because it's somebody else's opinion doesn't make it true, doesn't mean that it's right, doesn't mean that that's what's actually going to happen. If somebody says it very confidently, or I have inside sources or whatever, that doesn't mean that the bad stuff is going to happen. And I have to practice this all the time in my own life because, again, I've got very scary things going on, which we're not even talking about most of the time. But, you know, they're there. They're real. They're present in my life. And it's something that I work with. But again, worrying also, has no constructive purpose. It does not necessarily provide a solution, can cause you to suffer before the problem even arises. And I like that philosophy, too. I think that's pretty good. Well, you guys have some wise words of wisdom on worry. Vegas says, worry assumes you know all the factors. That's right. A lot of times you don't. J. Bo says, I'm not worried about anything happening. The time is growing short for these guys. With their downfall, we will have peace and prosperity for all. I totally agree. Thank you, David. You align with light, and I love that. We must be the change we want to see. So yes, I'm just talking very practically before we get into our science section about the fact that yes, these disciplines that I'm sharing with you really do work. You can suffer before the problem even arises. In fact, a good friend of mine says, let's wait to worry. That's a good phrase, you know, let's wait to worry until you really know that what you have to worry about is something legit. You know, let's just wait. Let's hold off on it. Drains the present, taking away your strength and peace of mind in the present moment, offering no benefit for the future. Totally agree. You got to focus in the now as much as you can. That's a very important meditative discipline. Then comparison to debt. The analogy suggests that just as you would not pay a debt that was not yours, you should not pay an emotional debt for a problem that may never materialize. Again, worrying is like paying a debt that you don't owe. And Salvatore Lamattina, you create your own reality. If you worry, it might happen. Worry about something. If you should worry, something positive will happen instead. Okay, Charlie Winter says she's being blocked from donating. Very sorry about that. You guys can send her a link if you want, so she could go to the website. That's another way you can do it. Gene Novacek says, I love Minnesota. I've lived there for 10 years. Bad actors are not representative of the rest of us. Okay. If you stay in the present moment, says enlightened executive dentist, there will be no worry. Absolutely. I'll read a little more of you guys' wisdom, wise words. Ooh, this is one we can definitely take care of that. Thank you very much, Ross Feinstein. You are on the ball. My God. Sometimes we get some really, really crazy stuff in there, and I caught that one right away. You know, we don't need people to be so mean, but that's okay. It happens. And sometimes I'll just do it myself. But again, Ross Feinstein, thank you for being on it. All right, we're up to 2,316 viewers, so you guys keep on coming back to me. You keep coming back to the show, and I thank you so much. So again, it's like paying a debt that you don't owe because it may not actually happen. And so just to show you another really, really wild example of how the media just keeps doing this, even disclosure is now being framed as potentially a negative. But what's interesting is that in the process, they're telegraphing that disclosure might happen. So this is a really interesting one, which, you know, I mean, I'm much less worried about this than the other stuff, but it's funny anyway. Fascinating to see these events unfolding because disclosure will be a huge game changer for humanity if it ever actually does happen. And I believe it will. So the mainstream media is now out there warning that, oh my God, we could have a financial collapse if we are told the truth about extraterrestrial life in the universe. This was on DTV. It says the Bank of England urged for a plan to plan for a financial crisis, which would be triggered by the official announcement of the existence of extraterrestrials, and they want to put contingencies in place to prevent a collapse. Well, what if it was done by insiders? What if they decide to sell and use this as an excuse? So yes, add this to your list of things to worry about. But this is, again, disclosure, I think, is really going to be humanity's epic wake-up call, the childhood's end. Very positive event. Charlie Winter says, stay balanced. I agree. The aliens took all of our money, says Paul Can. And Gene Novacek says, that is so funny. All right, so let's dig into this. This is actually real. It just popped up yesterday. So this is very current news, January 16th, Friday, yesterday when I made the slide. Bank of England must plan for financial crisis sparked by, they don't like that word, we'll call them extraterrestrials, but they said aliens. And then we've even got this kind of humorous image where, you know, the Bank of England's mascot, I guess is what that is being levitated up into the air by a UFO, a little green man. So they're still kind of making light of it, but the point is at the same time they're trying to, you know, sweeten it with honey, they're still making it scary as well. David, you know that disclosure will bring both positive and negative effects because it's all one. Don't be dualistic. Hegel has your brain. I don't disagree with that. And Aurora Futura was one of the ones who actually wrote comments right at the beginning. Anyway, wow, we're up to 2,400 viewers now. The audience is here. This is our new midpoint, and I'm happy for that. So, yep, lots of good things going on. Okay, so here it is. This is from thetimes.com. The Bank of England must plan for financial crisis, which would come about from an official announcement about extraterrestrials being real, according to a former policy expert. Right off the bat, we're seeing this bias towards fear and negativity. It's like, oh, why can't we just think that it would be good? Well, because, you know, there might be, oh, somebody says Monty Python presents bankrupted by aliens. That's funny. Yeah, whatever happens, I'm okay with it. Well, we're gonna be okay. The point is, this is because they're trying to pre-frame narratives. They're trying to give us, you know, they're trying to make us afraid. That's what the media is about. But this one is so lighthearted, I'm not really that worried about it. Anyway, Helen McCaw served as a senior analyst in financial security at the UK Central Bank, preparing for events that could impact the economy. She has now written to Andrew Bailey, the governor of the bank, urging him to organize contingencies for the possibility that the White House may one day confirm we are not alone in the universe. Interesting, they're going to blame it on the Americans. I think this is actually pretty funny. So it doesn't make me scared to read this. McCaw, a Cambridge graduate, believes that there's some credibility. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty amazing. A declaration of that magnitude could send shockwaves through the markets, triggering bank collapses and civil unrest. I don't know. I mean, most people act like they already know and it's no big deal. Until recently, suggestions governments were covering up the existence of this were limited to a small coterie of conspiracy theorists and UFO activists. However, this is where it gets interesting because they're talking about the new documentary, Age of Disclosure. Senior American officials, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, Senator from New York Kirsten Gillibrand, former DNI James Clapper have recently indicated they believe in non-human intelligent life. Rubio, who's a close ally of the president, told the makers of the recently released documentary, quote, "We've had repeated instances of something operating in the airspace over our restricted facilities, and it is not ours." Okay. So yes, somebody said here, disclosure is more important than collapse. I totally agree. And Sunny Skies saying, please remember to be kind in the chat. I totally agree. Vicky Venus Astara is saying they act like Chicken Little, telling us the sky is falling. That's really true. And you know, I'm not worried about this. I'll just be honest with you. It's not a big concern of mine. Shareholder meeting email hasn't gone out yet. Okay, thank you for that. Charlie Winter, God isolates us before he elevates us. To strengthen our resolve, the world is not falling apart, it's falling into place. Hold your space for peace, and I look forward to this show every week. Well, thank you very much. That's really nice to hear. So anyway, yeah, life is good, man. Life is good because you're not, let's wait to worry, you know. Let's not get all into, oh my God, that could happen, that bad thing could happen, that bad thing could happen. Let's just try to relax. And, you know, I think we're going to be okay. I think this is all going to be okay, and that's why I'm here. If I believed that this was all really bad stuff, then I wouldn't be coming out to try to give you guys a positive message like this. So, it's not ours. Whatever it is, that's what Rubio is saying. It is not ours. According to McCaw, former 10-year employee of the Bank of England, the United States government appears to be partway through a multi-year process. This is amazing, right? It's coming from the top-level news out of the UK. They're actually preparing you that disclosure is really actually going to happen. I mean, this is stunning. A multi-year process to declassify and disclose information on the existence of technologically advanced NHI, non-human intelligence, responsible for UFOs, or what they're calling, again, UAPs. So, you know, she probably knows more than they're telling us. There's probably more information that we're not hearing behind all this. If the UAP proves to be of non-human origin, we may have to acknowledge the existence of a power or intelligence greater than any government. Oh, God forbid that we... Again, I think that's something that we really should all, you know, can laugh about a little bit, that they're worried about their power being undermined. They're worried about having some type of quote-unquote higher authority that shows up and actually has the ability to influence us in ways that they currently do not. Okay? And with potentially unknown intentions. Well, there's the bias again. There's the fear going in. It is entirely possible that government leadership and their central banks have not been properly briefed on the topic. Yep. But, you know, that doesn't mean that they don't know a lot, and that doesn't mean that they're not ready to come forward with things as the time goes on. So I'm just ready for anything, man. I'll tell you what. I am definitely ready for anything at this point. And they're telegraphing disclosure. I think it's something that we really ought to take seriously, because again, you know, like when they're telling you these kind of things, this is pre-framing, right? They're pre-framing a narrative. So maybe they will try to sell a bunch of stock or something as this starts to happen. But again, you know, the market does not necessarily do what they want it to do. They might try to nudge things. They might try to create certain outcomes. It doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to get what they really want. So I just want to make that clear. Okay? UAP disclosure is likely to induce ontological shock. Thank you. I don't know if anybody said ontological shock before me. I think I kind of introduced that term into the zeitgeist, something I heard from college philosophy class. So I'm really happy to see it being used. And it might provoke psychological responses with material consequences. If there is an official announcement and we get presented with very clear evidence that nobody is going to dispute, I would say within a matter of hours, you're going to have total financial instability. I mean, maybe not. You know, is everybody just going to go, oh my God, there's, you know, little green men, I better take all my money out of the bank and I better do it right now because everybody else is going to do it if I don't? Because, oh my God, you know, what if they're all of a sudden going to invade? I mean, come on, people have been thinking about this stuff for a long time. It's nothing new. That's why I'm not afraid of this news. Okay, somebody said, clever, clever, man. Thank you for helping me understand everything. Thank you, David. Oops. Beverly Adams just donated $50. That's pretty cool. She says, in August 2015, a group of us simultaneously meditated globally. As CERN was going to fire up, it was hit by lightning twice in the 15-minute period and went down. We can focus our meditations on certain things and it has benevolent power. That's pretty cool. Pretty cool. Anyway, so lots of stuff is going on here, and I don't know why there's this whole thing going on in the comments, but that's okay. Total financial instability, really? You think so? I don't think so. Anyway, if banks start failing, the payment system will collapse. You'll have rioting in the streets because people can't fill their cars up with fuel or buy food in the supermarket. Well, let's not worry about something that hasn't happened yet, right? That's our discipline. Even if you feel it's very unlikely, she says, it's madness not to consider it and plan accordingly. And she was also saying that, you know, people might want to buy Bitcoin, they might want to buy gold, they might want to move all their money into these hedges and then pull their money out of the bank. And I don't know. It sounds like a stretch to me. They think we are stupid sheep. That's what Rio Dragon said. Anyway, I don't know what that's going on. Lots of interesting stuff people are saying in the comments, but we're not going to comment on that stuff. So silver is going crazy, says Ray Burt. That's true. It is. Disclosure may actually be a great comfort to humanity. That is something that could really happen here. We might really, and Donald Barker just donated. Thank you very much, Donald. Been with you over a decade. Really enjoyed listening to your books in the Audible. I have the most, and I've just loved them. Thank you for all you've done. Thank you, Donald, for the donation. I really appreciate it. And yes, Tizzy says, I am a legend of ufology. I really appreciate that. Happy to keep on bringing the goods to you guys. And, you know, it's your donations and everything are keeping me going. I had a nice, nice time, actually, this past month. So things are good, and I'm glad that you guys are here. You're keeping me going right now, and it's a lot of work to put this show on, believe me. So I think disclosure could actually be a great comfort for us because now we find out we're not alone in the universe. And another thing that one of the points I keep stressing over and over again is that religious historic events now take on greater significance because every culture seems to have angels or cosmic beings or messengers or Elohim, ancient astronaut theory. I mean, I'm on Ancient Aliens, and everybody's been watching that. A lot of people have watched that show, and you get tons and tons of interesting insights into who's who in the zoo, you know, who's out there, and what is in the universe, and what do we have to look forward to if these people who built pyramids and stuff are still around. Why bring anything with you? Use building materials that are local. If you have anti-gravity, you can levitate huge blocks of stone and create magnificent structures that will stand the test of time. And, you know, they're not gonna disappear on you anytime soon. Why not build it out of stone? If you can levitate the stone, let's go for it. Now you've got a very, very sturdy building. You could build these pyramids when you didn't even come from here. So religious historic events do take on a much, much greater significance, and I think that's incredible. Free Fly Cam donated $50 and says, thank you for all you do, David. Have a bison ribeye on me. All right, I really appreciate that. It's really, really great. Thank you very much. So yes, YouTube does put numbers after your name. That's one of the things that everybody's finding out. So we've been through many challenges in the past, and we have survived. That's another thing I want you to see, is that humanity is a lot more resilient than we get credit for. Could there be some type of thing where people want to get money out of the bank? Yeah, it's possible. Is it going to ruin the economy? Is it going to cause this huge collapse? No, I don't think so. And maybe they're also trying to do that to try to stop it from happening. Maybe the media doesn't want disclosure to occur, right? That would make sense. The negative forces do not want you to consider the good parts of the story, because everybody seems to always say, I already knew that. You tell them something about UFOs, you give them some proof, they say, oh yeah, we already knew that. Everybody knows UFOs are real, it's no big deal. So please know you are appreciated, says Qualaya. Thank you very much. So we all do have an obligation to keep our harmony intact. Keeping your harmony intact is an essential aspect of making it through these times, because when you cultivate your harmony, you are accessing universal energy, and that gives you the power to transform your entire life. So what do I mean by this? What I'm saying is that being harmonious is physics. One of the things that we discuss on this show repeatedly is sacred science and new physics. And boy, have we got some new physics this week. In fact, right as I dumped water into my laptop, it was to write down a note for something that has become a cornerstone of this week's show, the idea of photons not only coming out of the brain, but coming out of the heart as well. So we've learned scientifically now that your thoughts are not merely locked inside your brain or your heart. Certain thoughts are actually emanating in the form of photons, and photons themselves may actually be information carriers. This is a really, really fascinating discussion that cannot be constrained to 1 week of time. In fact, the whole pyramid discussion I put off to another week because I realized we're just not going to get through all that stuff this week. So please bear with me. We'll do that a little later. I just want to make sure that I got to have material every week. I got to keep doing shows. And when I saw the wind coming up this week, I'm like, it's not going to be a fun week for slide production. So let's just get this going. Last week, we discussed some incredible new information. Okay? And this all comes out of the idea that the universe is manifesting matter, energy, time, and space out of a fluid-like medium. That in the background of the universe is what you could call the space-time continuum, or you could call it space-time like Einstein did, just by itself. You can call it dark energy, dark matter. We've heard those terms, the vacuum, the plenum. Zero-point energy is another term for it. There's lots of different names for this idea that there is something in the background, similar to the idea that if you're a fish and you're in water, do you really know that there's water there? No. The fish doesn't ever think about the fact that it's not in water until it goes out of the water and has to try to breathe air. Oh yeah, Judy Booth donated. Thank you very much. And she says the powers that be, or I would say the powers that were, are afraid of the free technology disclosure could bring. You are always in my prayers. Thank you very, very much. Yeah, so it's a very interesting time to be alive, to say the least. We've got so many interesting things happening right now, and disclosure is on the horizon. They're pre-framing it, man. So with disclosure comes the possibility that our physics is wrong, that our science is wrong, that Einstein was right about the idea of a space-time medium of some kind. He said you're moving through space and time simultaneously when any object is moving, thus moving near light speed is time travel. You're actually going to move faster through time than people would here. That's really fascinating, isn't it? See you from PEI Canada. Hi to all my American brothers and sisters, says the Awake Mass. All right. Thank you very much, Judy Booth, once again for the donation. And let's see how we're doing. So, yeah, things are good. We're already up to almost $1,000 of donations. That's great. Russian says, thank you for helping us and guiding our knowledge and thoughts in terms of extraterrestrial technology, astronomy, the universe, and other things that really matter and refer to our times. Thank you. So yes, let's talk about this universal medium. This is a really big deal, that the universe manifests out of a fluid-like medium. And as we said from the Law of One last week, I'm not going to do all that again, everything in the universe is built out of photons. And the photon, in turn, is actually a manifestation of harmonic geometry. This week's topic, again, is harmony, keeping your harmony. So isn't that interesting that we mentioned the word harmony, and it has to do with love, and it has to do with positivity, all these coping mechanisms that are so important for today's world. And, you know, when we're living in harmony, we are actually exciting the informational field, as Pete Peterson talked about. Somebody was mentioning him right there. and this creates geometry. So I'm going to have to review a little bit for you guys, because again, if you haven't seen the show before, I don't want you to get lost like you wandered into calculus class, but it'll be quick. So the manifestation of harmonic geometry, harmonic indicates the vibration. So when we vibrate a liquid at these different frequencies of sound, we actually see these various shapes. These are the shapes, the platonic solids they're called, that the universe is made out of. We have your tetrahedron, octahedron, cube, icosahedron, and dodecahedron. And so these shapes are very, very interesting, as I said before, because they all fit perfectly inside a sphere. I'll let you look at them as I say this. Each of them has the same face on all of its sides, mostly triangles in the case of the tet, oct, and icosa, but then the cube has squares, the dodec has pentagons, but they're always the same face. Each line is the same length. All the points are equidistant from each other. This is vibrational nodes. If you look at it as a sphere, they form vibrational nodes of equally distant spacing across the surface of a sphere. It turns out that these are the essence of what photons really are. You're looking at photons right here. Stephanie Marsh says, it's an amazing time to be on Earth. Thank you, David, for all you do for the cosmos. Thank you, Stephanie. We rely on those donations. I really appreciate it. 2,600 viewers now. So again, these geometries are something that we've built up a whole quantum physics model about, in which we're seeing that they appear in atoms and molecules. I've said that in previous shows. They appear in the atomic nucleus. There's actually shells in the nucleus of these. That was Dr. Robert Moon's model. They show up in weird energy nodes on the grid where Bermuda Triangle effects occur. On the Earth's grid, the Bermuda Triangle is one of 12 spots that is together forms the icosahedron. You can also turn it inside out and get the dodecahedron. That forms this global grid. And every single pyramid and ancient stone monument on Earth is built on that global grid. All 3,600 of them, or whatever it was. That was discovered by the 3 Russian scientists, Goncharov, Morozov, and Makarov. So, the global grid and then the spacings of the planets, we talked about that these platonic solids actually define the distances between the planets. And again, these are vibrations. These represent 3-dimensional vibrational frequencies. And so this is the key, that the universe is made of photons, and that these photons appear as sound in water. So all of these geometries can appear just by vibrating liquid water. So again, take a look at them. They appear as sound in water, and that is what we would call harmonics. And again, harmony is one of the key words of this week's show. So this research was pioneered by Dr. Hans Jenny, where the white areas in the photo you're going to see are particles of sand, and then everything you're seeing is inside a drop of water. All the black areas are where the water is. And then all he's doing is he's vibrating the sand. Now, if he doesn't vibrate anything, you just get liquid water that looks like murky, cloudy stuff. There's no visible shapes. But as soon as you start vibrating it with sound, you get these platonic looking geometries. This one again looking like the icosahedron. And then when you go into this phase here on the left, it's just a different vibration now. You have what looks like the cube or the octahedron. And here we have 9 different vibrational phases that he goes through, all impinging themselves upon this liquid medium. It is sand particles that are making the geometry, sand particles. And again, look at how beautiful it is there on the left. Look at the complexity, the layering, the depth of how you see shapes within shapes. Thank you for the donation, Prophetic Ascension, but I'm not going to say certain things on the air, so I did not report anyone. I don't know what that is about. I'm not taking action against anybody, so I don't know what you're talking about there, but anyway. So what we have here is, again, the 5 platonic solids, tetrahedron, octahedron, icosahedron, cube, and dodecahedron. And this all relates back to the concept of the harmonic photon. So it's a very, very fascinating study, because what we're seeing is that, hold on a second, I'm going to grab something and move it around. We will do this. Let's do this, hold on. Yes, yes, yes. And we're going to take that and we're going to stick that down there. Sometimes I got to redo the show in the order in which things are written in real time. Okay. So, back to this. I love that I can get away with that. You guys, nobody left, right? We still have the same. Oh, we got even more people. 2,600 people are showing up now. And yes, so let me just take a look here. That's not true. Looking at some troll comments that got deleted here. I just want to see what people are up to here. So, yep, the comments are okay. All right, trust in the Lord Jesus Christ. Thank you very much. Yep, everything is toroidal fields as well. That's right, the toroidal field is what surrounds the geometry. It's a spherical torus, like it's the shape of a Macintosh apple with the hole in the middle. That's the central axis. That's a very important part of how this science actually works, man. Thank you for reminding me. So again, here's our harmonic geometry, the vibrations of fluid and water, all these different phases. All you have to do is change the tone. And the water creates these amazing three-dimensional patterns, including what you can see down there on the bottom right is five-sided geometry. Wow. It's all going back to these basic five shapes. So I will argue that the photon itself is harmonic. The photon itself actually is a vibration of the quantum fluid-like medium. Law of One talks about everything is made of photons and that they're all geometric in nature. And so sure enough, we can go back and do the homework and research this and find out, yes, that's actually true. So the harmonic photon comes again from Dr. Radek Tropkiewicz, who actually was able to measure a single photon in the lab. And here he is from Stanford's profile, postdoctoral research fellow. This is the machine that he built where he was able to actually create a chamber where you got one single photon that you can capture and look at. And what was so amazing about this is that it actually looks like the Star of Malta. If you read the bottom, it says hologram of a single photon reconstructed from raw measurements. I can't see the rest of it. I don't actually have my Angry Daddy glasses today. Unfortunately, I forgot those. Anyway, so when we look at this, we actually can superimpose one of our platonic solids, the star tetrahedron or Merkaba, right over that. And to me, this is not an accident. This is actually the way that it's supposed to be. The angle that he caught it on, it's coming at it from the side. But you can even see where those blue lines are on the outside, man. That is just totally, to me, very, very intense. And again, who gave us the Maltese cross? Why is the Maltese cross a physics diagram? Why is the Star of David, for that matter, a physics diagram of this geometry? It's so interesting that the photon itself has this pattern. So I believe that, again, here it is. This is our star tetrahedron. And when you look at it this way, it looks like the Star of David. It's very beautiful. I can tilt it in other ways and get all these other things to happen. So let's see if I can. Yeah, so there's your cube. And I can move that. All these different, it's so interesting trying to do this on the camera because it looks very different. But you can see that at certain angles here, let me just do it with my eyes. Certain angles here, you get the cube, okay? And it looks like the picture that we just are looking at over here. So yeah, this is really intensely fascinating to me because within this little guy here are the other geometries. Let's see if I dare to go to this camera without getting kicked off the air. I mean, sometimes this camera knocks me off the air, but anyway, inside there you see this little guy, the octahedron. So you can see that shape is inside the other shape. We talked about that before. We're not going to do all that stuff again. Well, it actually looks like I stayed on the air. I don't want to be on that camera for too long because I can get knocked off the air apparently when it's on. That has happened to me before, so now I've got like a superstitious thing about that particular camera. I'm finally in. I had a heck of a time finding you today. It was very strange. Well, I'm glad you're here. We got 2,600 viewers, so life is good. Anyway, back to the slide. You can bring this out and take it out again, and you see, yes, so the photon does appear to be a Merkaba, which again gets back to the idea that the photon is harmonic. So harmonics, vibration, might be able to create light. Light might actually be created by vibration. That's the whole lesson here. Charlie Winner, just before I woke this morning, I was dreaming of a horizon standing on a mountaintop. Tetrahedron could be two photonic molecules stopping, not in travel position. It's essentially the same as the Merkaba. That's right. The tetrahedrons stretch out like this as they're traveling together, but then when you collide them together, they turn into the Merkaba. That's absolutely right. I talked about that before. You remember that. So then this appears to be related, as I said before, to the original photon of the universe. This is your Merkaba shape once more. Nima Arkani Hamed is the main guy responsible for this, where this came out again back in 2013, that all of the space and time itself is a product of this shape that we see, this colorful, weird thing that they drew an illustration of here, a jewel at the heart of quantum physics. So there he is from Caltech and his former student and co-author, Yaroslav Trunka, from Caltech and Princeton. And Arkani Hamed has really cracked the ultimate physics puzzle, because this was something that proves that all of space and time is the emanation of that single geometric form that they were showing you. Now, I think it's going to turn out to be the Merkaba. We've talked about this, but either way, it's very fascinating because what we're seeing is that this has dazzling philosophical implications. Space and time itself are created by this invisible medium that is all coming out of this one particular photon. So I believe it is a photon because I believe the shape is the same as the photon. That's the point here. They call it the amplituhedron or the positive Grassmannian, but we're going to call it something else. We're going to call it the original photon of the universe. That's what I think it is. Okay, so once again, that's the shape that you just saw. And here's his line art illustration of it. And very clearly you see it's made of 4 tetrahedrons stuck together. Now again, it's very complex, and nobody else ever seems to dare to talk about this but me. But his research confirmed that every single squiggle in the quantum realm is simply an amplitude, hence amplituhedron, an amplitude of wave motion coming off of this one thing. Now that's a very confusing thing. The only thing that he says really exists in the whole universe is this. There is no space, there is no time. The entire manifest universe is all being upheld moment by moment by this one object, and like everything's a holographic fractal of this one object. Well, that's what the law of one tells us is going on. And the law of one, again, is my philosophical basis. I've been studying it since 1996. It's going to be very handy to have that in your back pocket when we get to disclosure, because the law of one tells us all kinds of cool stuff that we really need to know, in my view. So this is your amplituhedron. Sir Roger Penrose had a prototype of this in the 1970s, where Stephen Hawking was the one arguing his Big Bang model, whereas Sir Roger Penrose had a different idea. And I sped these up. I had to make it faster to get through this, which again is not unlike the concept of the Higgs boson, that if you zoom down into quantum space in any one area, that if you zoom down far enough, it's always going to be the same particle, and that the whole universe emanates from that one thing. That could be called the Higgs boson. So it's very, very interesting. So this was Sir Roger Penrose's original idea, and you can see there's 2 tetrahedrons at the top around where it says 4 and 5. And man, it looks a little wonky though. It doesn't quite look perfectly straight, but he had a lot of the math worked out. That's what's so weird, is that when you look at this diagram, let me put it up again. When you look at this diagram, you're actually getting solutions to a majority of all of the quantum physics particle issues. So Feynman diagrams, 90-page long equations to define neutrinos, quarks, leptons, muons, nuclei, protons, neutrons, electrons, whatever they are. You got a Feynman diagram, they're 90 pages long. He was able to solve most of the quantum realm with this shape. Nima Arkani Hamed comes through and adds this in. And it is very temptingly similar looking to the Merkaba. As I show you right here, we can superimpose them over each other and say, yeah, maybe it's like exactly 1/4 of the Merkaba, or maybe you take these individual tetrahedrons and you just flip them inside out, and it works that way. So I believe that you can get the symmetry of the Merkaba out of this shape. It's certainly implied, and that to me is very, very fascinating, because what would that mean? Again, all of the quantum squiggles that we see are emanating from this one shape, and they are commonly being referred to as particles, which is very significant, which completely defeats the idea of particles being little hard objects, right? We're totally done with that now. So it means also, the implications are that all of us, your body, my body, the Earth, the Sun, our solar system, the galaxy, all the galaxies in the universe, everything is coming out of one single amplituhedron. And then it's making all of space and time at once. You see, I'll never get tired of this. That's why I was so afraid that if I'd lost my laptop, I wouldn't have had these slides anymore. I'd have to rebuild this stuff. Oh my God. It wouldn't have been the same show, folks. If I had lost my laptop, you wouldn't have this show this week. Let's just put it mildly. Rockety Rocket says, Namaste. Are there any plans to take Stavati public? If so, will your supporters get the first shot at an IPO? Yes, we actually are. And what is the shell in the background? It's a Nautilus. Ooh, Sunflower Life donated $333.33. And that's been a really incredible thing you've done on many other weeks. So I want to thank you again for that, Sunflower Life. Another Joel Goldsmith quote: you are made of the very nature of God. You are indestructible, indivisible, inseparable from God. God planted the fullness of himself in you, so nothing can be added to you and nothing can be taken away. Thank you very much, Sunflower Life. That is a game-winning development for us. We really love those donations. I mean, we love everybody, but that really helps a lot. So thank you guys very much. Oh, and the Rockety Rocket one, I got that one. Let's just make sure I didn't miss anything else. HLM donated $10. Thank you very much for that one. And I think I've got everybody now. That's right. I'm up to date. Okay. So as far as Stavati going public and getting an IPO, we are creating a new 506 Reg D offering right now. But this one has a higher entry point, and it allows us to advertise, but it's a different entry point. So we had the window where people could get in at a lower price. We filled that up. Now we're going into a higher price. Maybe in the future there will be an IPO. We'll keep you posted as to how that progresses. All right. So anyway, all of us are collective emanation of this one form. And this also means time is not linear in the greatest sense. The whole universe exists all at once. And so the phrase, the universe already happened, is a funny way of looking at it. And you can also say the universe, like the law of one says, is in a state of becoming. All past, present, and future exists at once, but yet at the same time, as time travel occurs with various extraterrestrial species, it's all becoming something new. It's growing in a nonlinear time format, which is really interesting. So we're fine with that. Anyway, yes. So we identified the troll, and even if you give money, if you're going to be a troll, we're not gonna deal with that. Sorry, but thank you for the donation anyway. So the universe is in a state of becoming. So the amplituhedron, as we said before, mirrors the Star of David Tibetan mandalas. This is something that I'll never get tired of talking about, and it is repeated information, but it's so significant. When we look back at Buddhist mandalas, this is supposedly the creation of the universe. There's your amplituhedron. So maybe this was given to them by ETs. You know, Padmasambhava, the second Buddha, supposedly had 6 fingers, 6 toes, and he came in a lotus, like an egg. They call him the egg-born, or the lotus-born. And so Padmasambhava, very significant historical figure once again. So look at this. It's the formation of the universe. The spheres represent the densities or layers of existence. Here's another example of a Tibetan tanka that shows the same thing. Here's another Tibetan image that also shows the octahedral geometry inside. You get the theme here. This is the creation of the universe. Maybe they're onto something. Maybe they're seeing something that we don't really see. And yes, if the universe is built from a fluid-like medium, then that original amplituhedron could be the first photon that was the geometric ripple that started the universe as a result of what? Harmonic vibration. So harmony is the key because, again, sound is what creates this. So the original shape of the universe was created by harmony, a harmonic vibration. And if the universe itself is made of a fluid-like medium, it goes back to what we saw in the Matrix, you know, what if there is no spoon and you are only bending yourself? I like that. I like that. What if there is no spoon and it's only yourself that is bending? So again, if harmonic vibration actually creates photons, and that means that while you are experiencing harmony, you are exciting the universal medium. And this directly reveals our scientific correlate for harmony. That harmony is not just something that you experience as a psychological effect. It's not just an emotion. It actually creates a resonance that changes reality and creates particles, creates photons, creates matter. If the photon is a vibration, as we're just looking at, and if that's all the universe really is, then when you create harmony, which again, the law of one directly equates loving consciousness, forgiveness, patience, etc. Loving consciousness creates harmony. The harmony creates these photons. The photons, as we saw last week, are actually intelligently coded with life force, information. It's very, very interesting. So when you keep your harmony, as we say is the topic of this week's show, you are transforming reality. You're actually creating these photons. And we discussed this last week about how you create these photons, where certain thoughts actually release vibrational structures, and they can create healing effects. These harmonic photons will actually create healing in many cases. So I want to bring you back to the work of Dr. Fritz Albert Popp, and here's his picture here, where what he found was that each DNA molecule is like a light pipe. It's like a fiber optic cable, and it stores 1,000 photons each. That's right. Your DNA stores 1,000 photons per molecule. Why? It suggests, this discovery suggests there's something so intrinsic that we didn't know about that we're learning about now. Again, somebody says it's too dark, I can't see you. I'm sorry about that. But, you know, what can I do? Everybody else can see me, so I'm sorry. So we'll give this person some. Actually, you moderators can take care of that one. It'll be fine. Anyway, I only have the option. I only have one option. You guys can do back up your data. Yep. Thank you very much for that. Anyway. Somebody wants to think this is nonsense, that's okay, but I'm making what I believe to be compelling associations that factor in very nicely with alleged extraterrestrial teachings that we've received and all this other kind of stuff. So, okay. Anyway, we'll do that. Okay. Each DNA molecule can store up to, this is Dr. Fritz Albert Popp. So, speaking a roundabout way here, he was studying certain types of chemicals and their properties as related to health. I'm not going to be more specific than that. This was actually, for him, a holy grail of medical research, trying to figure out why certain chemicals are dangerous. And he found many different, he explored all these different possibilities. Is it the pH level of the chemical that could make it dangerous? Is it the solubility factor, how soluble or insoluble it is? Is it the color? Is it certain molecules? Is it certain chemical compositions? Does it always have a hydrogen atom? Does it always have an oxygen atom? Well, no, those are usually going to be good. Well, why do certain chemicals have these negative effects? And is there anything that kind of unifies all that together? That really is a holy grail. And, so that's what we're looking at here. Like, who could come up with this? Well, he did in the 1970s. And he eventually focused on the idea that light absorbs within your DNA, and that this is the factor, that if certain light is absorbed that it becomes unhealthy. So sure enough, he found out how to do this. He wanted to test the hypothesis. So he had his graduate student create a photon counting device that could count one photon at a time. And the photon counter became the best of its kind in the 1970s. And one of the things that they ended up discovering was that our own skin, unbeknownst to us, it's invisible, it's not bright enough to see, but our own skin releases 10 photons per square centimeter, whereas vegetable material actually releases 1,000 photons per square centimeter. Wow! 1,000 photons per square centimeter of light coming off of vegetation. Well, sure enough, this is one of the things that he discovered, but eventually the big thing was that all of these harmful substances scrambled light at a certain frequency of 380 nanometers, which is just above the visible range in the ultraviolet range. Every single one of these harmful chemicals scrambles 380 nanometer light. That would imply that if you want to be healthy, you really ought to make sure that you're not scrambling that light, right? I mean, it's huge. This is a huge, huge discovery. Huge. So again, if you think about the idea that certain health problems could result if cells do not stop, if they just run amok and they just keep on going and going, maybe the light is being used to tell a cell, hey, cut that out, so it could be that that the photon is a messenger for the body that conveys very important signals. And it's probably not just that one. It's probably many other signals as well. In fact, the body is very likely regulated by photons, regulated by light. And so Ross Feinstein says the real med beds will reverse everything. I would agree. And infrared technology is being pushed as med beds, and that's something that's been around a long time. I agree with that as well. Thank you, Ross Feinstein. Agni Yoga says, this is Scarlet Fire. One can observe energy radiating from your fingertips. Flashes can be seen in the dark. If the emanations are particularly strong, you can see their blue light even in the daytime. And yeah, it's interesting. I haven't actually done that, but some people claim they can see auras, and there may very well be something to that. So again, the light may be used as part of how we get through life here. This is a fascinating discovery that still has never reached mainstream consensus. Charlie Winner just donated and says, do you believe every number and letter has a frequency correlating with sound, color, shape, or light based on the observer? Yes, that gets into gematria and the Hebrew fire letters and a whole bunch of stuff that we don't have time to cover today. But again, we're still holding really true here with the, 2,350 viewers is what it shows right now. Let's see what it says. Oh, we're still at 2,600. Okay. It's just when I change camera angles regularly or pop to the slide that it starts to wind down a little bit on the count temporarily. So again, this Fritz Albert pop thing is very, very significant because DNA is like a fiber optic cable. DNA is like a light pipe. It's holding photons inside. They found that when they killed DNA with a chemical called ethidium bromide, that it released 1,000 photons per molecule. And they could catch it on the photon counter. So we know this is true. And it's very, very interesting, to say the least. So again, up to 1,000 photons stored in a single DNA molecule. And this also, what they found was, if you have a part of your body where there is an illness or an ailment, that the light actually reduces, the light goes down. It diminishes, so there's fewer biophotons in there. The cells, the DNA, do not hold as many photons. Isn't that interesting? This again suggests something's really interesting here. So the biophotons may be used to tell your cells to stop replicating, as I was saying. And this also puts very important ideas about eating fresh vegetables. Fresh vegetables become way more essential to your health than we already thought they were before. And we're at the nice midway point here, the halfway point, 1.5 hours right now. But believe me, there's a lot more to go. We are just getting started, and it's great. So anyway, let's see what we got here. Yeah, we can. Anyway, thank you, moderators, for doing your work. Appreciate that very much. So again, if the vegetables have 1,000 photons per square centimeter, then think about what happens when you begin eating them. You know, how do you get these photons inside your DNA? Well, yeah, part of it would be making sure you get good sunlight, and there is some, looks like, yeah, it's sunny outside right now, so everything's good. We have a nice sunny day waiting for me when I'm done with the show. And, you know, so 1,000 photons per square centimeter of vegetables, that's pretty amazing. That means that when you're eating these vegetables that you're actually getting more of those photons. And remember, that's all the universe is harmonic photons. So one of the ways to increase your harmony is to eat a healthy diet. And so this gets into a harmonic vibrational diet that will actually help you be healthier as you learn, you know, that this is really part of how your health is working. So then this is a quote that he gave. He says, "We know today that we are essentially beings of light." I'm going to not make it gendered. "And modern science of photobiology is presently proving this." So this is after he's published many, many papers, way more than we can get into right now. "In terms of healing, the implications are immense," he says. "We now know, for example, that quanta of light can initiate or arrest cascade-like reactions in your cells, and that genetic cellular damage can be virtually repaired within hours by faint beams of light." Well, that's his claim. And I guess he's done this in his own studies, but for the sake of time, we're going to look at one that I already know about from Garyaev. But again, he knows for a fact that this can happen. You can create cascade-like reactions, and you can virtually repair damage with faint beams of light. That is really, really fascinating. "We are still on the threshold of fully understanding the complex relationship between light and life, but we can now say emphatically that the function of our entire metabolism is dependent on light." Wow. Our entire metabolism depends on this. So this is pretty fascinating. And, you know, there's definitely different ways we can see this. So I actually am going to go grab something here because I just realized, like, yeah, we got to stick that in there. This is a great time to put it in there. So we'll do that. Cut that and put it over here. I get to do this. I get to change things around and add stuff in if I want to. So that's what I'm doing right now. And okay, so back to the slide. "We are still on the threshold of fully understanding the complex relationship between light and life. We can now say emphatically that the function of our entire metabolism is dependent upon light." Okay, so I've mentioned this many other times before, but oh man, oh dude, I'm sorry. I wasn't on the right thing. Yep. Anyway, so there we go. This is the Budakovsky study, and we'll get right into this here because this is the next thing. Thankfully, I only caught it for a short time. And looking at your comments, making sure, okay, everybody's still writing. We still have emojis and love coming in. Yep, okay, all caught up. Vakapalo says at double speed, great show, you look radiant. Meowcat says it's David's party and he's going to do what he wants. Well, I almost never have a bad camera angle, but yes, let the mods do the modding. Thank you, you're absolutely right. It doesn't do me any good to read comments that are not cheerful, and yet they come in, you know. So again, Fritz Albert Popp pioneered some really cool stuff, and there was a Russian named Budakovsky who did the same kind of stuff back in 2000. This is in my book, Source Field Investigations. He recorded a fragment of healthy raspberry tissue in a hologram with a red laser, and then he zapped the raspberry tumor. This is, you know, a growth, negative growth, with this holographic healthy stuff. And so here's a typical raspberry tumor, okay? The callus developed into a healthy raspberry plant and had no residual toxicity in it, which we have no explanation for. So you go from nasty on the left to beautiful on the right here. It's incredible, and it was caused by nothing more than the holographic signature of the raspberry in the photon. This by nature would require that the photon carries genetic information, wouldn't it? If this is true. And apparently, Fritz Albert Popp did other studies that found the same thing. So this, again, has vast theoretical and practical applications because it means the entire genetic code can be enfolded into a single photon of any particular, species on Earth. The photon is much larger than Planck's constant at 10 to the minus 32 centimeters, and it apparently has lots of room in it for these fractal structures. This is the geometry. The geometry is a fractal. It's much more complex than we thought. So we get into the concept of digital biology, where the actual pattern of DNA itself is being written into the background of space and time. And that is very, very exciting. Yep, trolls like to throw you off. Well, I'm not reading it. You guys gave me that. And again, somebody said something very, mean in the Twitter this week too. Oh, David, all he ever does is stop and talk to the people in the chat. Well, I'm trying to keep this going for you guys, but the mingling in the chat also keeps it more interesting, I think. Yep, let the mods deal with the trolls. Thank you very much. That's what I'm doing. So we can also see this in the work of Dr. Peter Garyaev, and here he is right here in his lab with an old-fashioned computer. Unfortunately, he passed away very unexpectedly at age 78 on November 17th, 2020, and he was in excellent health before he suffered a brain edema. So, we pray for him wherever he is now. But this is what was so amazing. His pancreas study with rats kind of goes along the same line as the raspberry thing. Very, very fascinating. This is the names of the people that were on the study. The effect of electromagnetic radiation modulated by biostructures on the course of alloxan, that's a toxin, induced diabetes mellitus in rats. There you go. And this was Bull Exp Bio Med. That's the name of the Bulletin of Experimental Biology in Medicine, is I guess what that means. Jacob Schur just donated, said sorry so low. And then Gene Novacek says no amount is too low. That's right. We're not criticizing you if you donate a small amount. Anything is great. I appreciate it. So anyway, this is the link. You can still go click on this right now, and it's there. I just did it today or yesterday. I forget what it was. Might have been today. I think it was today. Springer Nature link, Bulletin of Experimental Biology and Medicine. There it is again, published February 2007. This is not fake. So people are always like, again, we apparently have some troll activity in the comments, but this is a published scientific study. I'm showing you the proof right here. I'm not making this up. And it says exposure, well, we're actually going to read this. No, okay, so we are going to read it off of this. Exposure of rats with experimental diabetes mellitus to wideband electromagnetic radiation generated by the helium neon laser and modulated by the pancreas and spleen is an informing and phenomenological method that prolongs the animal's lifespan, normalizes its blood glucose level, which again, your glucose level skyrockets when you have diabetes, and then it comes back down, the blood sugar level normalizes, and the pancreas actually regenerates. It's incredible. Oh, and I got a sneeze here, so sorry about that. Let me try to mute myself. I only had one. David is one cool cat. Thank you very much. So again, I'm trying to give you guys stuff that is scientifically backed so that you don't have to take my word for it. You just check this stuff out, make up your own mind. I give you information. You decide if you think it's true. And that's good. So anyway, this was replicated in multiple cities, Moscow, Toronto, Nizhny Novgorod. And he injected the control group with alloxan, which would destroy their pancreas. The control group would develop diabetes, and they would die within 4 to 6 days. Their blood sugar level skyrockets. Everything goes bad. The second group was given an identical dose of the same toxin, and then before they died, he zapped them with laser light that went through the pancreas and spleen of a separate healthy rat pup, as he called it. The diseased rats were zapped with this laser light, passed through the healthy pancreas, and their blood sugar level came back down, and they actually regenerated their pancreas, which is like, wow, really? I mean, that's fascinating. And you saw the link. You saw the journal. This is not something I made up. Springer Nature, it's got it right there. The blood sugar level completely normalized, pancreas regenerated, and they could transfer the effect for up to 20 kilometers with equal results. So the photon carried the signal. It's very fascinating. Charlie Winner donated again. Thank you very much. Is this the same concept as our consciousness creates reality, but not just with our thoughts, but also on a cellular level when showing biologically matched healthy tissue? That is right. You're absolutely right. So, football, low number of viewers because low vibrational football is capturing minds of the masses. No, we're good. I mean, if we can hold up on 2,600 viewers and keep you guys here and you don't get bored enough to leave, man, I'm happy. I'm not unhappy at all. So thank you guys for being here. Thank you for the donations. We're already doing pretty well. If we get some more, that'll be awesome. But this is already a good day. It's already a good day, man. All the way across the board. And I have good content for you guys. So again, there are no known energy fields that could do anything like this, and it gets back to the photonic model, that the photon somehow is carrying healing codes of information to the cells. Really, really interesting. And remember what Dr. Fritz Albert Popp found, that the DNA molecule stores photons inside of itself. And, I've talked about this over many years. This is some of the David Wilcock canon of information that I've talked about for so long, but it's, again, very, very fascinating. So it says at the top, blood glucose concentration over time is a function of the alloxan injection and the consecutive laser biocomputer treatment by wave information. So what you see here is that he doesn't even begin zapping them with the healthy pancreas laser light until their blood glucose level is already up to almost 35, which is where they would normally die within 4 to 6 days. He waits until the day that they would start dying, right when they're literally on the brink of death. That's when he starts introducing the wave information, and holy crap, it actually works. Holy crap, as you start to see, they don't die. Day 4, day 9, they're still alive, and then by a little after day 9, day 10, almost day 10 is when blood sugar levels start collapsing. And then at the end, by day 12, almost all of them, except for the one green one there, which is rat number 11, I guess, or rat number 9, they've all had their blood glucose level go right back down to normal. On the day they were going to die, he zaps in this healing wave information and everything starts to change. And again, it's scientifically published, so trolls can laugh and sneer and snicker if they want to, but you can't change the fact this was published, okay? So this is what he's got to say about it here. This is actually somebody else that wrote about this. Dr. Garyaev postulated that the genome is multidimensional and exists in a chromosome continuum. Well, again, it's all photonic. A stable wave that travels throughout the organism along the highly structured double helix DNA, holding the genetic information as an electromagnetic and acoustic hologram. This is very beautifully worded, so I totally agree. And I would just say that since it's in the photons of the laser light, it has to be photonic in nature. Fritz Albert Popp says there's light in the DNA molecule, so there you go, man. This is, again, yes, Garyaev, you're right, Master Kenobi. Garyaev was the one who did the frog to salamander experiment. I'm getting to that. And Debs says, thank you, David. I appreciate all you do. So let me get to that in just a minute. Ron Gary says, demonic energy has been attacking me too much in recent months. I struggle to sleep. I've relapsed too much, and I know it's demonic and energy draining. Well, thank you, and I'm sorry that that's been happening, but if you maintain your harmony, you can avoid a lot of this stuff from happening, and that's why I'm trying to get you to see the positive, that the harmonic thought itself creates the photon, creates the vibration. You see how this is such a beautiful follow-up of what we were talking about last week. It's very, very interesting. He considered that these holograms that create nodes on the universal hologram as a record of all that is and all that has been are the true record of our genetic blueprint. That is absolutely true. I would believe that 100%. And so think about the fact that these rats were totally healed when they were about to die at the very end of their life, and think about how that relates to us. That healing light could come from, let's say, the sun, from the galaxy, solar flash perhaps, maybe that's what we're thinking about now. The solar flash could change genetics literally overnight. It could heal us. It could bring about whole new things, a true manifestation of Christ consciousness from the sun. That's why I say let's bring on the first wave, man. If there is going to be a solar flash, if it's contingent upon us getting our stuff together as a planet, and then when we start to expose and disclosure comes out, hopefully we're not going to get a collapse of the economy. We're actually going to get really positive things to happen. So how does the light get into the DNA in the first place? Right? We've thought about this concept of DNA holding 1,000 photons, but how does it get in there? Well, this is another thing that Gary Iov did that whenever we talk about him, we really want to talk about the DNA phantom effect, because this is really, really incredible. If you guys haven't seen this before, again, in 1984 with Papanen, he had a quartz container and he puts a DNA sample into it, and when he would zap light into that room, there would be photons appearing all over the room. In other words, if there's no DNA inside this quartz container, then there's a certain amount of these virtual photons. They just appear and they show up all over the place. But then, if you put DNA into this little tiny quartz container, what happens to the photons? The photons actually absorb into the DNA. All of the photons in the room, as it turns out, all of them, end up absorbing directly into the DNA. This is completely mind-blowingly fascinating because the DNA absorbs all the photons in the room, and then it gets even weirder. Okay, but first of all, like that would imply that the DNA itself has some type of gravitational field, perhaps, because we know that when light approaches a black hole, right, that the light, oh Jesus, I was off my slide. I'm so sorry. Crap. All right, let's go back a little bit. And I want to give you guys those slides. Sorry about that. I just realized that I wasn't actually on the slide, so my bad. But you guys didn't even catch it. So anyway, that's good. All right. Okay, so Gary Iov's DNA phantom effect. Here we go. 1984, you got a quartz container with a DNA sample in it. You zap light into the room, the photons appear all over. When the DNA is in the room, it acts like a miniature black hole. There's gravitational attraction that absorbs the photons into the DNA molecule. Yes, it's a quartz container, which allows ultraviolet light to pass through it. And he's checking this with a photon counter, 1 photon at a time. I mean, that is just revolutionary. That is huge. It's like, man, how's that even possible? How could DNA be absorbing photons into itself? DNA has to have some type of microgravity. You can't write this down any other way and have it make sense. It's got to be something like that. So the DNA absorbs all the photons in the room. He ended the experiment and took the DNA out of the room, but then the light kept on spiraling where the DNA had been before. And I'm going to show you the picture of this. That's what the DNA phantom means. Holy crap. And again, I discovered this years ago, and almost every time I do a paid talk, paid conference, which hopefully we're going to do another one here really quick, it'll be in there. This DNA science, it's like, it never gets old. I never get tired of talking about this. It's always going to be fascinating. It's always going to be cutting edge, and it's always going to be very relevant to extraterrestrials and everything else you can imagine. Because again, healing light from photons can be emanated and can heal the rat when it's got diabetes and completely cure it, supposedly, which sounds impossible. I mean, it's like a medical impossibility. But yet, apparently, that's what he did. So the light keeps on spiraling where the DNA had been before. I mean, it's Hollow Reed says it's unbelievably powerful. David, thank you for the great work. Thank you very much. Now, this is the crazy thing, right? How long do you think the light lasted in that DNA phantom? How long was the DNA molecule able to hold on to the light? Let me get some votes here from the audience. How long do you think that the DNA was held in the molecule? If you already know, then you've been front-loaded because you've probably seen this before. Yeah, okay, somebody's Well, right away somebody got it. But so C. Noble says 33 seconds. No, it's longer than that. It's longer than a minute. It's longer than 5 minutes. Warden Mark said 1 minute. Truth Float says 48 hours. No. 1 year. No, that's too long. But anyway, is it 1 day? No. Is it 4 days? 30 minutes, says Carolina Patriot? No. 1 week? No, it's longer than that. 8 hours, Scotty Dog, longer than that. 3 minutes, 3 days, 24 hours, 2 hours, 24 hours, 21 days, progress with God. You're getting closer. There we go. Radar O'Donnell and several others who've already watched my show know the answer, which is it lasts in the same place for 30 frickin' days. Not 1 day, 5 days, 10 days, not 30 minutes, 30 days. That they're actually still measurable. You can still see them there for 30 frickin' days. Yes, you won the prize, Vacapalo and others. The Anana just donated. I so appreciate your dedication to the truth all the years you've been at this. Thank you very much. That's awesome. I really appreciate that. So, yeah, that's a very, very shocking thing. 30 days, and there's an invisible force field that doesn't even require the DNA to be there. It's holding this in place. And so this has incredible theoretical implications. So this is what we got here. This is the actual results from the study, from the Malvern photon counter that was doing this, which you can see right here, the diagram of how this works. This is from Institute of Heart Math, where they were blocking out how the whole thing looks. You got the laser beam going through a collimator, which makes it very tight and narrow. The cuvette is the quartz container. It's got DNA in it. Then it goes through another collimator, a scattering angle there, and then the photomultiplier tube is what's counting the photons individually, and then it goes into the computer. So from that, we get that when there's no DNA in the room, you get photons all over the place. That's what you see up at the top there. But then when you put the DNA into the room, physical DNA in the solution, that is your DNA phantom. It actually captures the DNA, holds it in place, and it will continue to be held in place just like that. In the shape of the double helix, you can see the squiggly line. You see how it's like got a ongoing S sine curve type of thing? That's actually the DNA, dude. That's actually the DNA itself showing up in terms of how it captures everything. Ron Gary says, thank you, David, for all you do, the knowledge and wisdom you bring us. May the wonderful Creator in the universe bless you and all of us. How many photons do veggies have if they've been in frozen or in cans? Probably very little, I would imagine, unfortunately. That's why I try to eat a fresh salad every day. I think that's a very important part of maintaining good health, is to have that salad. So this is the idea of the DNA phantom effect as described here, that you've got, when you put the DNA into the tube, it captures all the photons, and then for 30 days, the DNA phantom remains the way it was. So think about this now. Think about you. And think about the fact that you have over 100 trillion cells in your body, 10 trillion human cells, 100 trillion non-human cells. It's like 110 trillion cells. And that all of those cells are capturing light into their DNA as you sit there watching this show. So when you get up, when you leave where you're sitting, there's going to be a ghost-like phantom of your body that will hang out in that spot for up to 30 days. That's incredible. When you really think about it, it starts to change your philosophy. And again, we're talking about the science of harmony. Your harmony will generate higher vibrational healing photons that heal you in body, mind, and spirit. And so now, why do you think the DNA might be doing this? How does the DNA attract photons into itself? Well, once again, it's the big secret goes back to geometry. And so this is another thing. This is a diagram from Dr. Mark White, which isn't really quite as specific, but you see the dodecahedron there. That's one of our 5 basic platonic solids. But this is the one that really, really shows it, you guys. The double helix of DNA can be wrapped over a totem pole of dodecahedrons going right side up and upside down. Patricia Siak says, Star Trek Voyager used photon detectors a couple times to solve crimes. Yes. So what am I saying here? Look at the green line and notice how, as it goes along, it's wrapping along the edges of the dodecahedrons. Look at the red line, it's the same thing. It would be like if you took a pipe cleaner and you wrapped it over this totem pole of dodecahedrons. You can make the DNA double helix this way. And what did we say the geometry is? We said it was a vibration. What did we say the geometry does? In the fluid of water, right? When you have the vibrating fluid of water, the sand arranges into the shape of the geometry. So if this resonance exists, then the resonance is there without the DNA. The DNA can be removed, but these dodecahedrons, these resonating vibrational geometric structures, they still exist. They still exist. They're still there. They're still functioning. They're still working for 30 frickin' days, enough so that they can capture the DNA and capture the photons in the shape of the DNA, which we now know is a dodecahedral shape. And when you see the axial view, that's looking at it from the top down. So this is very, very incredible, because the implications are that DNA is somehow very importantly using light for its own function, and that it may even be the genetic code. So this gets back to Gary Iov's salamander experiment, where he shined a laser beam through healthy salamander eggs and then redirected it into frog eggs. That's all he did. And it's this LGN 303 is the name of the laser. I actually have one in the garage. I got it from him before he died, which now I don't even know if you could get one. I don't even know. He said it was a helium neon laser, but it has a special transverse wave in it that apparently gets this genetic effect to work. Transverse, the 9-degree orthogonal angle is very important in all this exotic Russian physics stuff. Anyway, so when we're looking at this thing, when we're looking at the DNA molecule, we see the dodecahedron there, we see this amazing vibrational structure. Those patterns exist before the DNA. The DNA molecule itself might be coalescing out of individual atoms and then forming into DNA. That's why we got the Dr. Luc Montagnier experiment, which I don't have the slides for it here, but again, he had DNA in a test tube with water, another test tube that has plain water. He zapped them together with a 7 hertz electromagnetic field for 18 hours, and then for some strange reason, noticeable PCR chains of DNA appear in the test tube that had nothing but plain water in it before. And he got the Nobel Prize, actually, Dr. Luc Montagnier did, for discovering the HIV virus. So that alone shows that life exists in the quantum field, that the universe is alive. So I want you to think again about harmony and about how, as you feel harmonic thoughts, as you think harmonic thoughts, you are creating these vibrations of geometric wave patterns that actually coalesce and restructure matter. I mean, that's just very, very exciting and very, very fascinating. And then again, with the DNA salamander effect, you shine the laser through the salamander eggs into the frog eggs, and he demonstrated that the frog eggs transform into salamander embryos. They grow up into adult salamanders. They show no evidence of cloning, no evidence of ever having come from a frog. It was not like they were laid by a frog. It was like they were laid by a salamander. And this directly ties into the theory of evolution. It's extremely, extremely fascinating to look at how these things connect. And I don't want this science to ever be lost, which is why I'm happy to talk about it over and over again. And those of you, oh yeah, this is the old David Wilcock stuff. But well, it's always new for people who haven't heard it before. Yep, I learned this from one of your talks many years ago. That's right. But we have new information now. That's the thing. The information keeps building on itself, which makes me want to repaint the picture and add in the new stuff, because the new stuff is so exciting, man. So our DNA is storing photons so it can later release them. But I mean, think about the implications of evolution. Species evolution might be photonically programmed rather than just coming from random mutations, as Darwin is trying to tell us. That's, oh my God, random mutation. No, there's something else going on here. Charlie Winter just donated, was the photon trying to form something with DNA, or is there a magnetic attraction that draws it? When I close my eyes, I see a light print of whatever I was just looking at. Yeah, those are phosphines. We'll talk about that in a minute. Is there a magnetic attraction that's drawing the photon? Yeah, that's the point. The dodecahedral shape, as we were just seeing here, is a vibrational shape that actually draws the photons in like a miniature black hole and then stores them in place for up to 30 days in the DNA phantom effect using that geometry. So that geometry is so powerful, that resonance is so powerful, it's still there. Why is it still there? Because the universe has a fluid-like medium and it's vibrating in the fluid itself. The dodec is there by itself grabbing photons, and maybe if in certain cases it could actually reconstitute a DNA molecule. Maybe it could find the right atoms, the right molecules, draw it into itself, just like rocks go to the bottom of a stream. Maybe that's what's happening. Maybe, like we see in the Montagnier experiment with water, even hydrogen and oxygen molecules apparently restructuring into DNA just by having other DNA nearby for 18 hours in the presence of an electromagnetic field. Sorry if I'm going really fast. You guys understand this? Okay, Brave Soul says, brilliant. This is fantastic, David. No more about the protesting. It doesn't work anymore. This is more exciting. Yeah, I'm just, that's interesting. So we'll do a 5-minute time. Oh, you already got it. I don't even need to, my moderators have got this. Anyway. Can we receive photons, infrared light from sun gazing, a sunset? I would not gaze at the sun. You can really hurt yourself. Anyway, I don't want to put that out there because, again, you know, that could be rough. Darwin was a Mason. Yes, that's true. That's part of the story. And it's survival of the fittest, right? It's whoever kills the best is the winner. We don't really need that kind of stuff. So yes, this is old David Wilcock information, if you will. I've talked about it for many years, but it's not like you throw it away. I mean, this is very different than the way most people see reality, and therefore we really want to adhere to stuff that we can prove and stuff that has been demonstrated in labs. Fritz Albert Popp showing that the DNA molecule stores 1,000 photons. Now we know why. It's the geometric structure of the DNA. It's photonic. These dodecahedrons themselves are a type of photon. DNA itself is a type of light. It's a type of photonic energy. And that's also why the light can carry the DNA code, right? The photon itself has these different phases of geometry enfolded inside of it. Our DNA is storing photons so that it can actually later release them. And so this is what was so great last week. We discovered that the brain actually releases biophotons and that you get significantly greater emissions when you're visualizing white light. It says right here in this study, significant increases in biophoton energies at a distance of 15 centimeters from the head along the right side but not the left when the subjects imagine white light in a dark environment. This increased power density of 3 to the 10 to the minus 11th watts per square meter did not occur when the same subjects thought about mundane experiences. The calculated increased photon energy while imagining white light is the equivalent to activating 10 to the 7th cerebral neurons. 10 to the 7th is a 1 with 7 zeros after it, which brings you up into 10 million neurons. So that's the biophotons being released, 1,000 photons per square meter, 1,000 photons per DNA molecule, rather, from 10 million neurons. That's how much this is. 10 million neurons giving off their biophoton energy at the same time. You can see why I got so excited about this. And it's 15 centimeters away from the head. That's incredible. And now we see that the photon has genetic information in it, that it could be, you could be releasing genetic information. And then it says down here, the biophotons from lipid redox reactions within cell membranes, we suggest these results support Bocon's hypothesis. The specific visual imagery is strongly correlated with the release of biophotons, and the photons may actually be organized matrices that have visual images in them. And it also says cognitive coupling with photon emissions would also support the electron spin mediated. Oh, you don't need to hear all that. Anyway, this is very, very interesting. Persinger and Doda. The potential connection between consciousness and cerebral light. The right hemisphere is what's associated with creativity. So wait a minute, you're telling me that people are visualizing white light, and when they visualize mundane things, nothing happens. But when they visualize the white light, that the actual white light photons themselves are coming out of their head. And then they support this hypothesis that specific visual images could be associated with it. Yes. And we got a donation here from Lisa Dawn Marble. David, you're reading our questions and comments. Answering and replying is our most precious sharing of sentimental caring and helpful understanding. Well, thank you very much for that. I really appreciate that. MME Studio said, David, this is beautiful information and great news. I totally agree. And so, yes, we're doing great on chat revenue. Thank you, guys. Keep them coming. Oh, my God, he wants money. Well, we need money to survive. So anyway, thank you. Why wouldn't you want to pay for stuff that's cool like this for good information and donate as you feel is appropriate? But again, even your comments and just watching, just simply staying on the air with me. We got 2,560 viewers. That's good. Watch the ads, stay on the air with me. That's all we really need. But if you do decide to donate, it's wonderful, and I thank you. So as I said last week, this Bocon hypothesis of specific visual imagery, well, this is a very deep rabbit hole that I just kind of glanced through last week. We didn't get all the way into it. It's very deep. This is Dr. István Bocon. He's Hungarian. And you see there what's the word behind his head? Epigenetica. Epigenetics is the science of life being formed out of supposedly non-living material, which gets right back to DNA growing in water, gets right back to photons having life in them. Photons are alive. They carry information. So we were talking about the genetic information component this week, whereas last week, the Bocon hypothesis includes the idea that the photon carries visual imagery. It's like a little television set. It's like a little screen. Inside that holographic fractal photon, Beverly Adams says, I use this in the deep tissue massage work I do. Thank you, Beverly. That your photon has fractalized holographic information storage, that it can contain pictures, it can contain life force energy, it can transform frog eggs into salamander eggs, it can do all this really, really amazing stuff. And again, this science never gets old for me. I'm happy to talk about this for the rest of my life, however long that may be, however short that may be. I have a lot of enemies. They're after me. What can you do? They definitely don't want me to ever have good weather here. That's one thing I'll tell you for sure. Anyway, we keep on going. So Dr. Bocon's website is here. Bocon Brain Imagery 5mp.eu web. And what we see is his supposition is that the brain actually is conducting photons through the neurons, that the brain actually is a light pipe. So neurons are not just conveying electromagnetic impulses. Well, photons are an electromagnetic energy source, aren't they? So yes, he's now saying that your brain is photonic. And again, remember that as somebody was visualizing white light, that photons were coming out of their brain, supporting the idea of 10 million neurons giving off their biophotons at the same time. That's incredible. He talks about organized matrices of photons coming through. So he says that biophotons mediate information during dreams, and that intracerebral biophotons were proposed to generate pictures while you are thinking. Yeah, that means imagery could be stored within the photons. They're actually generating pictures in your brain, meaning photons have a vastly higher data density than what we're using now. Photons become an incredible source of information storage, where you can imagine a single photon carrying an entire complex image. And again, my insider Uncle Jack said that AI robots, when they get to be very, very advanced, that they communicate this way with photonic emissions that appear off of their faces, and it's so much faster than human speech that speech becomes totally obsolete. It's like a dial-up modem compared to broadband when you're just using the photons going from face to face. They just look at each other, they exchange the photons. It's much, much faster communication than you could ever go at the snail mail speed of the human voice. which may actually be an emulation of human systems. It may be that cosmic extraterrestrial beings eventually start to communicate this way as they evolve, and that there's strong implications that that's what it could be, that they use this photonic system. So here's where he's saying that retinotopic electric signals, that means signals coming from the retina of your eye, and he proves that they do this, could be converted into synchronized bioluminescent photons producing intrinsic biophysical pictures in the brain during visual perception. And then he's got a couple studies that he links there. Wow. So stuff from your retina creates photons that go into the brain, and it actually creates pictures in the photons themselves that are then stored in the brain. This is just absolutely fascinating. So this is his study about dreams and neuroholography, where he's talking about strong coherent information systems in the brain. You can read all this if you want to. Explicit holograph-like information systems in the brain is what he's saying. And anyway, we're not going to go into all this stuff, but biophotons play an important role in information processes of the brain during sleep, dreaming, and wakefulness, and the brain can operate by these pictures during its thinking. So this is the main graphic that he's got when you go to his webpage, where he's showing you somebody's looking at a tree. The object is inverted upside down in the retina. We know that. The retina always turns things upside down. And then we had a donation from Frank Hobson, and he says, Jesus is the light. There is no darkness in the light. Yes, the third eye, the pineal gland, we can talk about. I didn't want to do the third eye yet, but that's something we might still bring back in a little later. But the harmonic thing I wanted to get into first. Somebody's requesting trauma. I just kind of want to stay on this topic because it's very fascinating to me. So, whoops. Anyway, so now what we're seeing is that in the visual cortex, which he's calling V1 here, that you have an intrinsic biophysical picture of the object by photons, where blobs of photons are acting as pixels. It's very, very interesting. So we're not going to read all this because, again, I don't want you to get bogged down in all the details, but I'm just going to highlight the things that I think are the most important so you can kind of read the science without getting lost, okay? Both consciousness, thought, and light, as waves and biophotons, function as carriers of information and action. There it is. The photon itself carries information through the brain. Fascinating. And we see that it released in that study. Both appear to be self-referential. Light can be a carrier of consciousness as a basis for a psychophysical hypothesis of consciousness. That is so right on. And again, our theory is that as you experience harmony, you're creating vibrational geometry that creates photons. You create these biophotons inside your cells, maybe, in your DNA, or maybe they're already there, but you're amplifying them, you're making them stronger. The more harmonic you are, remember, Fritz Albert Popp, the diseased tissue did not have the light in it. So as you think more harmonious thoughts, you can heal yourselves, you can heal other people. It all is interrelated in a very beautiful way. Light is a carrier of consciousness as a psychophysical hypothesis. The human memory can operate through dynamic pictures, and we link these pictures to each other by learning. We search through information processes at weak biophotonic levels in the brain. So yes, he's even suggesting that the brain stores these images as photons, that the photons are stored inside the brain in pictorial form. It's like visual information, like a hard drive that's got, JPEGs and other image files on it. Your brain may actually have photons stored in it that have pictures in them. And maybe that's one of the things the neurons can do, and I believe that's actually what's going on. Taru House just donated for the first time ever, celebrating your first super chat. Thank you, Taru House. We really appreciate it. Photon carries information through the brain. I never thought about it that way, says T-Star Illuminations. Oh, Heather Starseed. Hello, David. I'm grateful for your Sunday video updates and spiritual wisdom. When a person dies, 8 pounds goes missing from their body. Is this their subconscious mind connected to the soul? Yes, I believe that is part of what's going on. So we're sorry to hear about Winfrey, my former co-author. He's in ill health. I'm sorry to hear that. We pray for him as well. Father, Mother God, pray for Winfrey. Pray for his health. We really hope he's okay. Thank you very much. Amen. So, what does this really mean? This means that the science of telepathy, which gets into remote viewing and the pineal gland, all that stuff, could actually be the transfer of visual information through photons. And we talked last week about the incredible dream-sharing research of Dr. Montague Ullman. We're not going to do all that again. Already did it. But again, this could be done by non-terrestrial intelligence, and for good or bad, by the way. Some ETs are bad. I'm not saying they're not. We have all different types out there in the cosmos. So we want to focus on the good ones, of course. And could stars and galaxies be sending us information as well? Yes. That would be the basis of evolution. The frog to the salamander, the transformation of our DNA, that the sun itself can release photons that encode not just images, not just pictures, not just dreams, but entirely new genetic structures that could reformat us. Remember, the rats were saved on the last day before they were going to die. The very last day, all of a sudden, the photons come in, and they're rescued. It's incredible. It's really incredible. So again, this is why I don't think we're doomed, you guys. Things can happen at the very last minute. It can look really far gone. We see the meditation effect. We see that people's minds can be changed. 7,000 people in meditation, reducing global crime, terrorism, and fatalities by 72%. That is dazzling stuff. So yes, I believe it is coming from the star and from our galaxies, that there's pictorial intelligence in photons. That's what he's actually saying here. And so there it is again, dream pictures, neuroholography, laws of physics. You could stop and pause this if you want to and read it, but I'm just going to give you a little highlight of it. This is from the Journal of Sleep Research, 2006, volume 15. And he's saying electrical signals can generate visible pictures when you convert them to electromagnetic waves, photons between 350 and 700 nanometers. Right. It's like television. During dreams, our eyes are closed. The brain is isolated from visible electromagnetic waves, but we see visible dream pictures. So it's possible that electrical signals in the brain could generate visible pictures of dreams if and only if electrical signals are converted into visible biophotons in the brain. I love it. That's the Bocan hypothesis at its core. Visual photons. Nobody can explain the origin of visible dream pictures if you only take the laws of physics into consideration. The homeotherm state, which again means a steady temperature, it doesn't go up or down, and REM phases of sleep develop simultaneously in evolution. In these thermoregulated creatures, there's well-regulated body and brain temperatures, restricted neurogenesis, well-structured systems of neurons, which bear a relationship to the holographic operating mechanism of the brain. In other words, holograms also require stable temperature in order to work properly. So he's saying that the very qualities of the holographic plate, they have to be temperature stable, is the way the brain works. The brain itself is like a holographic storage medium for light. That's a very, very different and very interesting way of looking at this. That's why I'm so excited. I had to do 2 shows on this. I'm like, I got to just start connecting all these dots of my life's work and synergize all this stuff together because it's so cool, man. Holographic pictures, as I just said, can be deformed if the temperature fluctuates too much. That's very important. In these creatures, I think we already had this. Yeah, we already had this, sorry. So, yep, the holographic operating mechanism in the brain, all these things are interrelated. Neurotransmitters and synapses are hardly units of information storage. Spontaneous ultra-weak biophoton emissions were found from a rat's brain correlated with its cerebral energy metabolism. So he proved this with in vivo images, in vivo, meaning that while the rat is alive, that it does have biophoton emissions in its brain. This is scientifically proven now, validating the idea of intelligent energy, which the law of one says right here. This is our salamander and frog thing. They're talking about the 25,000-year cycle. Apparently, the law of one says at the end of the 25,000 years, you get these spontaneous evolutionary upgrades. And we can talk about all that stuff again. I mean, this is all stuff I've talked about before, but it's, look at my wild hair, man. Wow. talk about the wind for the thousandth time. I haven't talked about the wind in many hours. But anyway. So, was there any physical change of evolution with the organism of like the human body, for example, that occurred rapidly like that which occurs at the end of a 75,000-year cycle, or is this just an indexing time for a harvesting period? The harvest is what they say means ascension, basically. Then again, the source's name is Ra. It's an Egyptian extraterrestrial intelligence, but it's positive. It said that they were the source of Christianity. The fountainhead, the pyramid, Great Pyramid of Giza actually was a monument to the coming Christ. I've done huge numbers of shows on this before. And by the way, thank you, JDub77, for the donation. Thank you, TSR-S6W, for the donation. He says, thank you, I love this information. That's great. So then the source comes in, and they're talking about this 25,000-year cycle. And so was there any change after 25,000 years? So this is saying, yes, human beings were upgraded by intelligent energy, or what you may term physical evolution. Well, if you remember last week, intelligent energy is defined as photons. Okay, and I'm not going to read that again. But Charlie Winter says, how is a biophoton different from a normal photon? I thought they carried all the information of the universe. Well, yeah, I think normal photons are all intrinsically capable of being biophotons. It's just that when they measure a photon coming off of your cells, coming off of DNA, they're going to call it a biophoton. So that's the idea. You're handsome no matter what, and your hair is fine, says T-Star Illuminations. Thank you very much. So again, physical evolution by intelligent energy, by this photonic process. Again, last week we defined intelligent energy as a photon. I'm not going to do that again. Master Kenobi says we had another Earth-facing X2 flare and coronal mass ejection today. We're getting more upgrades on the way. That's right. And as solar activity increases, we get new exposures of the negative as well. So when this much negativity happens on Earth all at once, my take on it is that in the law of one system, the more negativity comes in, the more the law of balance kicks in and positive things happen to counterbalance it. That's why you really can't have things get too bad before the positive floods in to offset the negative. That's universal law, man. That's the way it works. So again, intelligent energy or physical evolution after the 25,000-year cycle suited physical complexes to their environment, that's bodies, the color of the skin due to where the area of the sphere is that people live, and their gradual growth due to their improved intake of foodstuffs. So again, let's go back in case you missed this, the previous question where he says, at the end of the 25,000-year cycle, was there any rapid physical change of the human body? That's the context, which he's getting into like the idea of the missing link, you know, the physical evolution. And then again, they say yes, that intelligent energy actually upgrades through the process of evolution, creating differences in the colors of skin, where you live, and the gradual growth of people. It's a lot more than that. I mean, we have all these studies, like in the last 5,000 years, the DNA molecule has upgraded very, very significantly, 7% change in the last 5,000 years. Supercharged increases in our IQ in the last 150 years, increases in the size of the skull. That's the whole evolutionary thing we can get into later. And again, I like bringing back old data. I mean, this is new for a lot of you guys. Some of you guys have heard this before because I've done this over many years, and some of these were in paid programs, but there's always going to be more stuff I can do. I've been way too preoccupied to be able to put together paid programs right now with all the stuff and the weather that we've had, the horrible, horrible climate. Just getting this show out every week has been tough enough as it is. Anyway, this intelligent energy, which again is photonic, creating physical evolution, this is exactly what Gary Ive discovered in the frog salamander experiment, as we were saying. So not only is it genetic information again, it's also visual information in the brain translated by photons. This is that study right here. Dissipationless transfer of visual information from the retina to the primary visual cortex in the human brain. And again, this is one of these studies that's actually done very, very fascinating stuff here. Activitas Nervosa Superior Journal of 2012. There you go. There's the name of the study. And here's the authors of the study, okay? So, so one of them is from Iran. Actually, two of them are from Iran. Three of them. Okay, so this was a Persian study. Then we had somebody from Canada, et cetera, et cetera. A recent experiment on a single neuron has indicated that it can conduct light. This is awesome. Also, a re-emission of light from both photosynthetic systems and single neurons has been observed, which is called delayed luminescence. So what does that mean? That means that both, that a single neuron can actually have held on to photons, which again, the Bocon hypothesis is the photon has coded information in. I mean, he might not think that one photon has the whole picture. I do. That's just my belief that one photon could have a complex visual image enfolded into it. You don't need a matrix of them. You only need one. It's ultimately holographic, just like a holographic plate. You chop the plate into smaller and smaller pieces. You hit it with the laser, you get the whole hologram. You don't get a part of the hologram. So even the individual photon has the hologram of the entire visual image. That's what this Persian study is saying. A single neuron, a single brain cell can release a delayed photon, just like the DNA molecule stores 1,000 photons. Well, that could all be visual information in there. I never even thought of that. Back when I talked about that all those years ago, Fritz Albert Popp never considered that every photon could have visual images in it. It's fascinating stuff. Single neuron can conduct light, and it can release it on a delayed basis. This can be supposed as a possibility for dissipationless transfer of visual information to the human brain, in this case from the retina, that the retina is actually creating its own photons that then go into the brain and are stored as pictures, like a computer. So again, this kind of gets very deep jargon. How does the human brain receive subtle external quantum information of photons intact if photons are in quantum superposition and they have to pass through very noisy and complex pathways from the eye to the brain? Here we propose a coherent model in which quantum states of photons are rebuilt in the human brain. So first they have to hit your eye, but then they get rebuilt inside the retina and sent into the brain and stored. That's the theory. It's really, really cool. And then this is Bocon, who did a study, or no, he's publishing, yeah, he did. He's in the study, where he actually showed that this happens with the eyes of a rat, that it actually stores the photons that it sees, and then it re-releases them after a delayed basis. It's almost like the eye sees something, it constructs these photons, it takes a little bit of time, up to 40 seconds, to build the photon, and then it releases it into the brain. And maybe that's why when you're on certain psychedelics, you get the trails, right? The smearing effect, because that process might be slowing down. It takes more time. Spontaneous visible light-induced ultra-weak photon emission from rat eyes. Chow Wang. That's Could you imagine if your name is Chow Wang, right? Better that, we don't want it to, but still, I mean, like, well, in America, he'd probably have a hard time in high school. Maybe in China, if your name's Chow Wang, people might not care. But in America, it could be very problematic if your actual name. Oh my God, this guy's going to hate me now. Why did I say that? Well, I got Wilcock. I mean, it's already bad enough, but at least it's not Chowcock or something. Woo! I didn't even notice it. Didn't even notice that was his name until I'm better than Wang Chow. You got it, or Wang Chung. Oh my goodness. Charlie Winner, I've learned all this over the years from you. I'm happy to hear it again as we integrate ideas of concepts into responsible thinking. Do you believe that by 2030 we may have a great humanity-changing solar event? Hopefully. Now everybody's getting caught up on the Chow Wang thing. Whoa. I shouldn't have even pointed that out. East von Bocon, there's our guy. Oops, was I on? I'm sorry, I was on his slide for a long time there. I guess I only just now cut to myself. That made me laugh so hard I wasn't even aware that I was on the slide. Oh my God, you are hilarious. This is great content. I'm getting delirious, somebody says. It's a bit like Wing and Wong in the telephone book. You end up winging the Wong number. That's pretty funny. Could be construed as, but insensitive. But anyway, you said it, I didn't. I'm just reading it. So, quick take on my question on the $20 super chat, which is what? Let's see if I can find it. I love this information. That's all the one I see. Anyway, okay. Sorry. I can't catch everything. I'm not a superhuman. I try to be, but I'm not. Believe me, I'm not. So Jipai Day and Istvan Antal, 2 Istvans in one study, huh? That's interesting. Okay, so here's the abstract, and we're not going to read it from here, but you could stop it and pause it if you want to. But anyway, what we're going to do is we're going to read in slides. We present the first experimental evidence of the existence of spontaneous visible light creating ultra-weak photon emissions from a freshly isolated whole eye sample from a rat. So, yep, freshly isolated is pretty nasty, man. How do you freshly isolate? Oh. Okay, well, yeah, these are medical experiments, and, the rat is considered expendable, I guess. Man, I definitely would like to get rid of the rats that are in our neighborhood, man. They're around. So, anyway. Solar event question. Yeah, it's possible that we could have a solar flash, some type of event. It's already could have happened on December 21st, 2012, and it happened over on Proxima Centauri. I've done those slides before. That's very fascinating stuff, that Proxima Centauri did have a solar flash right around December 21st, 2012, and it took the light about 4.5 years to reach us, which is right on schedule for December 21st, 2012. It's actually around December 25th, which is Christmas. So I don't know when we might have something like this happen, but it is a game changer if it does. And so, but I said the joke first, Gene Novacek, so sorry that you got, sorry Lisa Dawn Marble got moderated there. I thought that was funny. But anyway, moderators can be a little bit trigger happy, but, we don't want to, we like Lisa Dawn Marble, so we'll make sure that she's, put her in the, we'll just give her a little time out of 10 seconds. That'll let everybody know on that side that that's what I was thinking. So no big deal. We'll try to make sure she doesn't lose access, because she's written a lot of good stuff. It was just funny. Anyway. So, these results suggest that the photochemical source of retinal noise, as well as retinal phosphines, may originate from natural bioluminescent photons within the eyes. Okay. Anyway, we're not going to get into what all this means, but natural photons in the eyes, that's the whole point here. The eyes are continually exposed to ambient, powerful photons passing through various parts of the eyes, producing ultra-weak delayed photons arising from diverse parts of the eyes. So this, again, shows that there is evidence of discrete phosphines. These are bursts of light coming from the eyes, where it says right here, seeing light without light actually entering the eye is what the phosphine means, without external photons. Phosphines can be points, spots, bars, or chaotic structures of colored or colorless light. They can be elicited by a variety of stimuli, electromagnetic, mechanical, etc., exciting cells in the visual pathway, as well as random firing of cells in the visual system. So this is the bottom line, folks. During natural processes, continuous and spontaneous photon emissions that are ultra weak are observed without any excitation of living organisms or cells. And then he's got all these citations to prove that. They are very weak electromagnetic waves in the optical range of the spectrum. They are known by many names, including biophotons, chemiluminescence, dark luminescence, ultra-weak electromagnetic light, etc. So these what are they called again? Ultra-weak photon emissions. Sorry, let's go back through that again. They can be seen by the naked eye, but measured by very sensitive instruments such as the photomultiplier tube, as we already saw. And we got Conscious Music Nashville donated. Thank you very much. Raising the Conscience over here in Nashville. We have Moonet back. Says, my name has in it church servant. Interesting. That's really great. Sorry if you guys are, not getting my funny characters, but I'm just, trying to get through the slides here. So this is the part I really wanted you to see. Additional evidence by Sun et al. In 2010 revealed that these ultra-weak bioluminescent photons can conduct along neural fibers and consider as a means of neural communication. This also suggests that biophotons and electronic activities are not independent biological effects in the nervous system, and their synergy. Anyway, the point being that they are not independently inside your nervous system. They're actually external photons, which again, the point being that it emanated off of the head. That's what's so fascinating about this. So all the isolated samples from the eye gave continuous spontaneous photon emissions with no excitation. In other words, they're generating photons on their own without any light going in. That's fascinating. And when they were recording it after 30 minutes of the adaptation to totally dark areas, then they do 300 seconds of recording. They found that monochromatic red, green, or blue light would happen within 10, 20, or 40 seconds of duration. So that's what you see right here. A, B, C, E, F, G, I, J, K, M, N, O. And what we're seeing here is the number of seconds along the bottom, or might be something else, maybe not quite. Yeah, let's read what it says here. The x-axis represents the time course in seconds, automatically taking an image every 6 seconds. The y-axis represents the mean value of gray in the image from the samples. So again, the point here is that there's these spikes that occur, and it says here that there's retina red 40 seconds, 20 seconds, 10 seconds. So the bottom line is that the eye is giving off photons where no light is going in. They prove that this is true. This is very fascinating again because the eye is creating its own photons and then releasing them into the brain, and they may be very complex pictorial images, as they were saying. So you can read all that if you want to. It explains what you're seeing in the graph. But again, I want to respect copyrights and just keep this kind of to a minimum. So there you go, as you're seeing the release of different colors of blue after 10, 20, or 40 seconds, green. It's very, very interesting. All samples showed a similar typical curve of light-induced delayed biophoton emissions. That's really cool. And you're seeing light without light actually entering into the eye. And again, I'm trying to make this as simple as possible without external photons. Points, spots, bars are chaotic colors of light, structures of light. Oh, we already talked about phosphines. Random firing of cells in the nervous system. So again, we don't really need to go through all this. We already did this. And again, Bocan created a new notion about phosphines. We don't really need to go through all this stuff exactly. But you can read it if you want to. So again, this is what's fascinating. When excess of these ultra-weak photon emissions go above a threshold, they may emerge as a phosphine flash in the mind, where the brain then interprets these retinal bioluminescent photons as if they originated from the external world. Yeah, so your eye, we never thought about this before, that the retina creates its own photons, but that's what they proved, that never have to come from outside the world, but they could be very complex images anyway. That shows the body has so much more intelligence than we thought. I would like to know what study you found this under. Is it scientific or pseudoscience? Yes, it's actually scientific, and I showed you where it was from. This is the work of Dr. Istvan Bocan. And again, I hope that he gets a lot more, work out of this. So, publicizing his work is a good thing. So again, here's the thing. Significant biophotons out of the right side when they imagined white light corresponding to, again, 10 to the 7th neurons releasing biophotons, supporting his hypothesis that specific visual imagery is strongly correlated with the release of photons and maybe the actual experience of organized matrices of photons. That's the Persinger-Dota study, and it is very fascinating because the whole brain appears to be storing visual information in photonic form, and then you can meditate and release it. Wow. It's very, very cool. So then he has a study about the pictures of photons showing up in your dreams. And again, this is the paper. So people were saying, is this scientific? Yeah, it is. This is from Biosystems 2010, a redox molecular hypothesis. You can see the whole thing there. You study it if you want to. And what it says is that visual perception and imagery as a new hypothesis, external electromagnetic visible photons are converted into electrical signals in the retina and then sent to the visual cortex, V1. These retinotopic electrical signals are then converted into synchronized bioluminescent biophoton signals inside the neurons. Wow. And then it makes it possible to produce computational biophysical pictures during visual perception out of photons. I love it. And then, you don't need to read all that. If you want to, you can. I want it to sound good out loud. So intrinsic biophysical pictures can also emerge during your dreams. And again, this also, so we talked about last week, Dr. Montague Ullman's dream sharing studies, how people sent dreams to each other telepathically. It was really, really cool. It also explains psychometry, where you're reading things with the mind out of physical objects. This is used in crime fighting, where you hold on to an object, you meditate, and you obtain visual images. Now we're starting to think, hey, maybe photons with visual data could actually be stored in the objects. In other words, your body is made of, 100 trillion cells. Most of them are non-human. But you could be releasing biophotons into the very things that you hold. Like I have these sunglasses here that I try to wear when I'm not on the air so that I'm not frying my eyes as much. You hold on to these, you meditate on it, and maybe some of my biophotons are inside the atoms and they come out and you can get pictures of what I was thinking. Remember, the DNA phantom works for up to 30 days. So if there's been a crime scene or something, they get your comb, they meditate on your comb, and the psychic starts to be able to see what's going on at the crime scene. That could be this process in effect. It's very, very fascinating. And we remember the DNA phantom effect, that this can happen for up to 30 days. And this also gets back into the idea of the Akashic record, where again, there is a psychic record out there that stores all of this information, all the pictures, all the data, everything that we've been through, everything that we've done, everything that we've seen shows up somehow in the Akashic record. And that is what the Casey readings were talking about, where everybody's data is stored and where you can go back in time and see everything that happened. That could be caused by biophotons. And it's like a ghost-like image. Remember, your entire body has a DNA phantom effect for 30 days. You could have a whole bunch of people in an audience. They leave the audience, they leave the auditorium, but for up to 30 days, their photons are still sitting in those seats. That's your Akashic record. And the photons could actually have biological information stored in them of the images that they saw. So this is a more complete examination of what we were talking about last week. And then somebody alerted me to the fact that the similar study was done with the heart. And that was right when the water went into my laptop, which again, amazingly, my laptop is fine. And I've got all the data backed up in case it goes wrong, but so far it hasn't. What about ghosts that were seen haunting from hundreds of years ago? That could be another example, right? I hope your laptop isn't near that water. No, now I've got the water right over here, nowhere near the laptop. And I'm never going to spill that. I'm going to make darn sure of that. So a similar study with the heart was done, and it showed that during healing work, there was 100,000 biophoton emissions coming out of the heart, visibly seen. This was done by Puron Baer at the University of Kassel in Witzenhausen, Germany. This is Puron Baer, and this is his book, Living with the Heart, Heart Rhythm Meditation. Even, it says, energy, clarity, peace, joy, and inner power. Even the AI overview talks about this. I was able to find it that easily, okay, so it's pretty fascinating. And this kind of summarizes the whole thing, that the human heart during focused meditation can emit significant amounts of light. So this again shows me like we all have this ability. He might have been able to do it stronger than the rest of us can do. It's coming out of our brains, coming out of our heart. When you go into a state of harmony, you are releasing these photons that have information that can heal people's DNA. That's the meditation effect. And apparently these photons are very potent. You release them out into the world and they start healing people around you in very fascinating ways. So the study was titled Visible Light Radiated from the Heart with the Heart Rhythm Meditation. Found that the average person's heart emits about 20 biophotons per second from that center. But when you practice this heart rhythm meditation that he says, we'll get into more of that later, it goes up to 100,000 photons per second. The experiment involved a meditator in a dark shielded chamber. That was Puran Bear. Using a photomultiplier, we'll talk about all this. And the biophoton concept is well established with the research pioneered by Fritz Albert Popp in the 1970s. Just like I told you, showing all living cells emit weak light. Isn't it fascinating? The AI actually admits this? Like, okay, cool. Oh, Trine Eller Katrine says, with love from Northern Zealand, Denmark. I really appreciate that. David, what if a person is blind? Well, I believe you're still going to have... Oh, slide camera. Oh, dude, was I not on the slide camera? I'm so sorry. I did it again. Okay, so back to the slide camera. Whoops. Sorry, you guys. Okay, so I don't know how far back that was. Anyway, we got remember your DNA phantom effect. Photons of visual data could be stored in your psychometry object. I hope it wasn't for a long time. Oh, crap, I'm sorry. Well, it's late. You know, it happens. Okay, so anyway, psychometry is where you have this classic technique in crime fighting. You hold on to the visual object, obtain visual images. Photons could be stored in the object. Remember your DNA phantom effect. We talked about the Akashic record. Commenter alerted me to a similar study with the heart of 100,000 biophoton emissions during healing work. This is Puran Bear, again, University of Kassel in Witzenhausen, Germany. Sorry about that. Oh, it was after the author's picture. Okay, great, thank you. So here's his book, Energy, Clarity, Peace, Joy, and Inner Power. So this is right on the AI overview. Now you get to look at it again. The key finding is that the heart center of an average person emits about 20 biophotons per second. You can pause this and read the whole thing. When you practice heart rhythm meditation, your heart will measure up to 100,000 photons per second. Wow. Involving a meditator in a dark shielded chamber using a photomultiplier to detect ultra-weak light emissions from the heart. Sorry, you guys, that I missed out on... You were looking at me reading the slide. That doesn't usually happen. It occasionally does. Anyway, isn't that fascinating that it's not only the brain, but now we're seeing it in the heart as well? We're going to dig into this one, man. So the concept of biophotons is well established in biophysics with research pioneered by good old Fritz Albert Popp in the 1970s, showing all living cells emit weak light. And then there's controversy around this because they're saying that the specific claim of 100,000 seems extremely high, and the university itself reportedly distanced from the specific study results, even though it was published before. And while the existence of biophotons is accepted, the ability to consciously increase them to such high levels through meditation is considered fringe science or alternative medicine rather than mainstream conventional science. Okay, well, the skeptics are always going to want to say that kind of stuff. We understand that. That's just the way it goes. So the case study here is visible light radiated from the heart with heart rhythm meditation, Puran Bear, Master of Science. And it says here, research at the University of Kassel in Witzenhausen in 1997 showed it is possible to produce visible light from the chest area under certain conditions. The first condition is that the meditation technique must be heart-centered, not transcendent. Secondly, a specific person with an actual need must be identified as a receiver of the transmitted light. Under these conditions, and we'll talk about what that is, it was a kid who was sick. Under these conditions, a sustained light emission of 100,000 photons per second was measured, where only the background count of 20 photons per second was observed without meditation. The tube was an EMI type 9635 QA with very high efficiency specifically selected for single photon counting. Light intensities went down to 10 to the 17 watts, measurable with this tube. The tube is sensitive from 200 to 630 nanometers from ultraviolet, where sensitivity then drops sharply to exclude infrared photons. So now I'm just going to summarize what happened. He was in a completely dark room. He was also naked except for wearing dark blankets to keep himself warm. When he would go in the dark chamber and wait for like an hour so that everything was totally dark, they'd get 20 photons per second. Whether he was naked or in blankets, this is what would happen. And then Winifred Fuchsovskin, who later, at the time she was an undergraduate, but then she got her PhD, she set up and observed the experiment. So this is what he's like in the room. This is the picture that he uses in the study. The photon counter is aimed at him. And again, scientific studies like this, you can use images. It's considered fair use. So Kundalini meditation was attempted first, where he's drawing energy up from the earth, raising it through his spine on the inhale. Then on the exhale, he pushes the energy down from his crown through the spine and then out through the heart. Sufi meditations were also used to invoke divine light. The Arabic words nur and munawwir were spoken at a slow speed, emphasizing these vowels, which produced a sensation of a miniature sun in the chest. So he's, again, trying to shoot biophotons. And Dicker meditation, be careful on how you pronounce this one. We already had Chow Wang, right? Woo-wee! All right, we're at 2 hours and 51 minutes. So that's good. That means that we're going to continue this discussion in the next week because I got more stuff I can bring you guys next week about this. So the Dicker meditation is the repetition of the phrase La ilaha illallahu, which again, you can hear Allah in there. That's the Arabic word for God. An ancient, and I'm saying likely Sufi technique to enter into the consciousness of the one and only being, where you're focusing on the heart as you do this meditation. So these are 3 different types of meditation that he's trying to do. He's doing Kundalini breathing. He's doing the, whatever the other one was there, the Sufi meditation. Whoops. Let me cut back off of that. So you had the Kundalini meditation, rising up through the spine. Whoops. Don't do that. We had the Sufi meditation, which was Nur and Munawwir, invoking divine light and a miniature sun in the chest. And then we have the Dicker meditation, La ilaha illallahu. Now, what was interesting about this was that when he did these just academic types of meditation, he didn't really get the best results. He only got brief, erratic measurements of 37,000 to 45,000 photons per second, which again, some people would say is extremely high. But he's a talented meditator. He was frustrated that it wasn't specifically continuous. I mean, they were telling him the woman was telling him whether he was getting results or not. Then her 4-year-old son had a severe cold that night at dinner, and he woke up the next morning with the intent to try to heal the child beginning at 8 o'clock in the morning. And so let's see if I've got this. Yep. So, okay. These results, I'm going to read you from this slide, so you don't have to actually read the slide itself. I'm going to put it into a text form, but here's where it is in the scientific paper. After he spent an hour in the dark chamber, the background count returned to 20 photons per second. Then he did a healing meditation in which he mentally placed the sick boy in front of himself and sent light to the boy on his exhalations coming from his heart. Yeah. So that's when it really started to work wonders. This is the technique of heart rhythm meditation. This was, in comparison to the complex and intense meditations of the previous day, a rather simple and easy meditation. The effort required by the meditator was emotional rather than mental, and very minor in comparison to the previous trials that involved intense concentration. The computer measured 100,000 photons per second consistently for half an hour until the meditation was stopped. This would be enough light to be very visible. It has been estimated that 1,000 photons per second entering the eye are enough to create a visible sensation. Actually, only a few photons striking the retina are sufficient, but the eyeball absorbs nearly 1,000 photons per second in its lens and fluid. So then when he used a fluorescent wristwatch dial, he got 1,000,000 photons per second. This is enough to be visible. You could actually read by it. So they say skeptics may want to debunk the effect, but nonetheless, this is what he measured. And ordinary people might not be able to produce these dramatic effects. However, the bottom line is that this is what's so fascinating. All these arcane forms of meditation didn't work. It was when he went into harmony, when he felt that state of harmony, that's when the effect really took off. That's when the child was getting the healing. That's when things got very, very interesting. And so we see photons coming out of the brain. We see photons coming out of the heart. And we actually see that, yes, photons are correlated with healing effects. Dr. Fitzalbert Pop, Dr. Peter Garyayev with the incredible rat pancreas healing study. 3D Gemi just donated. Thank you very much. Oh, I guess I missed one. Looks like somebody donated. Well, that was Sunflower Life. Yeah, we had that one already. Anyway, back to that. Okay, so you guys are still hanging with me. You guys are still chilling. The work and studies of heart math organization are profound. That's absolutely right. One of the things we learn is that the heart has this brain-like tissue across the entire surface. It really does. And so when you look at this is one of the things Pete Peterson always said, that the tissue of the heart ends up looking like neurological tissue as you put it up there. So this biophoton stuff is very fascinating. So what I'm saying is that you have all these things you can do with your own harmony that are very, very powerful and that change consciousness for us in very interesting ways. So with that in mind, let me go ahead and, because we're getting towards the end of the show here. So let me just do this. All right. All right, what I'm going to do then. Sorry, you guys. I want to figure out where I'm going. Okay. Okay. We're going to cut to oops. Sorry, you guys. I know I'm dying on stage, but I gotta. Here we go. All right, this is great. Now I've got it. Okay, perfect. So it's great because I've already got next week's show written. And so again, the heart has this brain-like tissue across its entire surface, which is very fascinating. And so what we're going to do here is again, we're talking about photonic geometry and the idea that the geometry is harmonic. The name harmonic means vibration. So the vibrations are what creates the geometry. We already saw that with Dr. Hans Jenny's experiment. And we'll do more of this next week. Ooh, we got more donations coming in. That's Sunflower Heart, who also donated. Sunflower Life was the one that donated $333. And then we have Jean Novacek. Thank you so much for today's teaching. She donated $50. Thank you guys very much. We're up to $1,600 total. That's really great. That helps us a lot here. Elizabeth Towers says, thank you for the excellent information, reminder of excellent information. Appreciate it. So, again, photonic geometry is called harmonic, and the point is that the harmony in the mind and heart is creating these healing photons which can heal you and others in mind, body, and spirit. And so what was so interesting was that when he actually had love for the child, when he was thinking about the child and loved the child and wanted the child to be healthy, wanted the child to be okay, that's when he got the 100,000 photons. It didn't happen when he did all these esoteric Kundalini meditations or Sufi meditations. It came out of that space of love. And so this gets right back to the idea of the law of one, saying that, we got 2 more donations. The law of one saying that love is the essence of the universe, the logos, etc. So here we go. Vakapalo, just like the pineal gland has cones like the eye, she donated $2. And Kawila Pele, keep up the weekly videos. He donated $100. Thank you very much, KP. I very much appreciate and enjoy them. Aloha. Thank you very much. Yeah, I mean, honestly, there's so much scary stuff going on in the world right now. I want to give out my best stuff and get it to you guys. And then when we can do a paid product, if we can get the time to do that, I hope I can soon. We'll get that going. I'll probably talk about this stuff again, but it's like this is now part of the music of David Wilcock's work. You know, we've got these new things that have come out. They're very, very fascinating. It was when he felt love for the child that these healing photons were occurring. In the meditation effect, it's the loving consciousness, it's pure consciousness that created the powerful healing effect that got such great results, man. So this process can heal you and others in mind, body, and spirit. How do you keep your harmony in these frightening times? It's so freaking scary right now. You want your body to be creating these photons. You want your body to be thinking about the white light, thinking about healing and helping yourself and others. And I get it, man. It's really tough. So I would ask that you focus upon your connection to the spirit. Keep that. Donald Barker says, I've appreciated your work. Much thanks. Call upon your higher power for strength, protection, and guidance. This is very, very important. As I said, remember that there is a higher power and that you have to ask. When we did the dream sharing study last week, the Grateful Dead hippies, the one who had the name, when they sent that dream to him, remember that image from Magritte, and he got the image in his dreams, whereas the woman who wasn't named did not. So the invocation of the prayer is very important. Ask God to help you, ask God to heal you, because again, it's really a mental game. A lot of this is a mental game of just focusing on the harmony, even if it seems like there's too much to worry about. You can't focus on it. It's too scary. It's too depressing. It goes too far. Okay, I get that. But if you focus on the harmony, you keep that as your mainstay, you keep that as your center, then lo and behold, harmony will start to manifest for you because you're activating photons. You're creating photons that have harmonic structures in them, that have visual images and genetic information that will actually change your DNA, transform your DNA. Thank you, Scarlet Fire. David's Sundays help all of us on our spiritual journeys up into the light. Oh, really? Wow. Puron Bear is a big fan of your work, and he loved your first book. He talked about it often to his students. I didn't know that. Well, that's great. Then I'm sure he's very happy that I promoted him. Grateful for all your words these past couple of years, guiding us through chaos. Yes, indeed. And I think we're going to go a little longer than the typical 3 hours and 33 minutes. We might go a little bit longer, but I'm just going to see how we do here. So call upon your higher power for strength, protection, guidance. This is a very, very important thing. You want to keep your point of power focused in the present, okay, as you call upon your higher power. Why? Because if you focus and dwell upon the past, you can go into guilt. So the past is guilt and the future is fear. You stay in the present and you're eliminating, or not eliminating, but you can greatly reduce your fear and your sense of guilt. Both of those vectors pull you away from the present, you see. And as you focus in the present, as you focus on this loving consciousness, you are having these biophotons being emitted, and you are helping to heal the planet through the meditation effect. You're creating resonance. You're creating harmony, harmonic vibration. Those photons are created by you, and they are vibrating and enhancing the universe, man. Love is the opposite of fear. If you stay in love, you stay in loving consciousness, that is the essence of harmony, and it dissipates fear very nicely. You know, and worrying, let's wait to worry, you know. Worrying is praying for what you don't want. So don't focus on the things that are scary. And again, that's why, like, I will try to be here every Sunday, so please keep on coming back, even if you don't want to, you know, go on social media and see anything about this. I'm going to try to do this every Sunday if I can. although we have 4 instances of, these huge storms coming our way with wind. So I'm very lucky, actually, that we haven't had wind today. It's been great, but we're going to get more. Anyway, gratitude is the attitude to receive more to be grateful for. This is frequency 963. Imagine how the world will be when we are teaching all children how to be with this amazing information. We will have an amazing world together. Yeah, this is a lot of old stuff, if you will, but with the new information about the biophotons, it's just incredibly fascinating. Bringing in Fritz Albert Pop, bringing in the geometry component, and then how you create that geometry. The loving thoughts create that resonance. It's very beautiful. So you want to emphasize the beautiful things in life. Focus on the things that are good. Emphasize those things. Even the challenges, feel blessed by the challenges that you face. See those challenges as beautiful and magical. The law of one calls our third density reality the choice. And what does that mean? That means that we always have a choice of whether we're going to focus on the positive or the negative. It's up to us as to which way we want to take this. And so this is a very fascinating thing about how we can choose. In fact, the law of one has some very interesting things in it about how there is a principle of balance. And what they teach is that there are higher beings that are precisely making sure that there is enough positivity to balance the negativity that we see in the world. So right now, I'm trying to create the positivity to balance all the negativity that's there. And that way, the law of one says that you always have the opportunity to equally pick positive news or negative news. The negative news, the higher beings do not allow the negative news to overwhelm the positive news. Well, it sure implies that some very good things are coming our way. If that principle of balance is true, if that principle of balance really works, then with all the crazy stuff that's going on right now, yes, and we don't need to dwell on it. We're not dwelling on it, but we're going to have many positive things occur. We had 2 more donations come in. This is great. You guys are hitting me up at the last minute, and I love that. So we have Al Selmore, and he says, surrender to the fact, or she says, surrender to the fact that you are already capable of making great things happen. Make your agreement to the connection within authentic. The weight of your authenticity is something no amount of fakeness can carry. That's absolutely right. And then we have Aaron Green, who says, thank you for doing all that you do. I love your positivity every Sunday. Well, thank you. That's really great. And then Master Kenobi, angry daddy explaining harmony would be unprecedented. I don't have the right glasses right now. David, for the love of God, how many times do I have to tell you over and over and over again? You just keep on screwing up all the time, and I have had it. I got to be careful, man. The angry daddy's going to ruin my voice. I don't want to lose my voice. We got to get a little more out of the instrument here than what we got. That's a term vocalists use for their voice. That was dangerous. But I gave you a little bit of angry daddy, just a taste. Just a taste. So, okay, let's see here. Yeah, we're doing great on chat revenue. We're up to $1,800. You guys are coming in for me at the last minute. I don't want you to feel bad, man. I know it's been hard, and I'm sorry. I'm sorry that the world is so hard, but the principle of balance suggests that really good things could be coming out of this as well. It's not all doom and gloom. It's not all fear and negativity. I do believe things are going to turn around in a most remarkable way. And because, again, you can't, the universe simply doesn't allow the negative to get this heavy for very long until things turn around. And so maybe this is all working up to some sort of cosmic punchline, like the cosmic joke, and we all get to laugh about it and like, oh, that's what it was. That's what was going on. But again, people are really freaking out. So this science of harmony and keeping your harmony is so important right now. And we're going to be talking about it again next week. We're going to bring in some other elements. I've already got the slides cobbled together for the next show. And, you know, we'll make it happen. You know, it's really great that I get to do this for you guys. And I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to be doing it. I have had it. That's right. Any updates on Stavati? Yeah, there's some very good things happening. We're coming in fast. There's some really good stuff going on. I don't want to get too specific. So this was interesting in terms of harmony, that now in the UK, just like Australia, they're now thinking of banning social media amid rising push for online identification, ramping up the Online Safety Act. Okay, so that's pretty interesting. I do think that it's okay with moderation to use social media. I know that I do. But you also don't want to get trapped in it. You don't want to get into doom scrolling. The more of it you do, the more it can affect your positivity. And there's no doubt about that. Ross Feinstein got that one. Right as I was going to say it too. That's funny. I guess we all love the positivity on Sunday by David. Yeah, it's a good time, man. It's good to be here. Good to be here with you guys. I really love you guys, and I want you to love me too. And you do, by showing up and giving me your focused attention for this period of time. We're still holding true at almost 2,500 people. Moonat back donated, said, I have had it. Thank you for the donation. Angry Daddy explaining harmony is unprecedented. That was Master Kenobi. Thank you for the donation. You guys are awesome. I love your positive spin on these negative vibrations, says Richard Ostroman. That's right. So lots of good stuff going on here. And another big point here is that, as upsetting as all of this is, there's another universal law, which is that you cannot be infringed upon more than you invite. That is really the essence of what Uncle Jack called the rules. Now, that's basically also the principle of balance too. You're not going to get hurt more than what you've brought into your life. So I'm definitely going through major karmic alleviation right now, because there's things going on that are very painful, very upsetting. But I want to be clear that the full power of the positive is really exposed when you see that you can't be infringed more than you invite. You use confidence and you invoke your own healing through harmony. You practice that harmony and you invoke your own healing. We see that you're creating healing photons. We now have the mechanism in place that Puron Bear is showing us. He's envisioning harmony, 100,000 photons. They're saying, oh, that's impossible. Well, but they actually measured it with a photon counter, and I don't think he would have lied about this. He was disappointed that his Sufi meditations, these fancy Sufi meditations, didn't work as well as simply loving the child and wanting to send healing energy to the child. That's what got him much better results. Isn't that interesting? So yeah, I think it's very fascinating. The power of the positive forces us to face the self. And these are some slides I did before, but they're again very relevant right now. And these disruptive events that we're going through force us into having this inner reflection where we begin looking inside, and for the first time, we start to notice our own unhealthy character aspects. Things look really bad. You completely believe it, just like I had again with my laptop. You fully believe that what you are seeing is the truth. It absolutely appears you have no way out of your crisis, and then you're facing the self. And then, like I call it, a Michaelism, miracles occur, and everything suddenly shifts. This is an energetic effect. It is part of the ascension process. So I want you to cultivate a sense of gratitude for your everyday life. This is so important. The idea of that namaste principle again, the principle of thank you, learning how to just appreciate what you have and what you've been given, learning how to be in love with the universe, in love with positivity. And again, worrying is praying for what you don't want. So let's pray for what we do want. The disclosure is not going to collapse the economy, that we're not going to have to deal with all this nonsense. This sense of gratitude will carry us through so much. It can transform the darkest days and nights into beautiful things. Another teaching that I was thinking about that's in the Law of One for this week, because I try to give you guys some new stuff every time, is to live alone is to live without mirrors. And I have that problem up here, unfortunately, but you know, last weekend I went to a gathering of my neighbors and it was really nice. I got to meet people. I got to talk to them. We had a really nice time talking with each other and it was great. And so if you live alone and you don't have a mirror, other people hold up to yourself the mirror of what you have to work on, what you have to heal. And so living alone is living without mirrors. I also want you to honor and utilize your own gifts. Recognize what you have. Recognize the gifts that you have and honor them. And then use those gifts to help others, to uplift them with your love and with your spiritual energy. You can help them find peace. This is so important. The Law of One says that there's ET souls, there's wanderers, these extraterrestrial souls, and that they're here to help transform humanity with their love. And we do this a la carte, as it's needed, when it pops up here and there. So I get this beautiful opportunity to talk to you guys every week. We have enough views already. We're at 13,000 views. We're creating that meditation effect that can reduce crime, terrorism, fatalities, war, overdose deaths, vehicle theft. All that kind of stuff goes down as you create that coherence. And I want to consistently do this as much as possible. That's why, even with how incredibly bad my week was and 4-day that turned into what looked like 8 days of wind coming up, I said, nope, I'm getting on the air. I'm going to do a show. We're going to make this happen. Yes, I'll recap things that I talked about last week. And it's a very complex discussion, but it's a fascinating discussion as well. The biophoton thing, I'm going to riff on it next week as well. We're going to keep that train going because it's very, very beautiful, and we'll bring in new stuff. So you can help others find peace on their path. That's going to give you a lot of strength. And remember, forgiveness. The Law of One says, in forgiveness lies the stopping of the wheel of karma. Learning to forgive yourself for what you've done that hurt other people, and try to make amends whenever possible. Learning to forgive others when they try to hurt you. These are things that will carry you a very long way. They really will. Another thing I would recommend, which I always like to do, is to spend time out in the beauty of nature. In fact, the best way to offset any potential damage from social media exposure is to actually go out and get exercise in nature, because the trees are giving off biophotons. The sun is giving off biophotons. Those photons heal you. If you stay inside all day, you're not taking advantage of these natural systems that really kind of require you to go out into nature to gain these benefits that are available to you if you do that. So going out into nature is another thing that I think is very, very important, as is the idea of asking the universe for help and then being willing to listen. Having the humility to say, yes, God, I need your help. Please help me. They call that a calling in the Law of One. You call upon the help of the one infinite creator in prayer, and only then are they authorized to respond. If you don't call out for help, then they're not actually authorized to help you. It sounds silly, but it's true. The more upset you are, the more afraid you are, the more concerned you are, the more you feel like everything's spiraling out of control, that is all the more reason to ask the universe for help and then be willing to listen to the answer. That is going to carry you so far. It's amazing what it can do. And also, I want you to take decisive action to manifest your dreams. Be willing to shoot for things that you might not think could happen. Be willing to go for the impossible. Dream the impossible dream. Live in the possibility that these things could happen, and then take the risk. Okay, that's important. And then here's another one. Be true to yourself and to your higher calling. You know, make sure that you practice honesty as much as you can. I mean, there's certain things you can't disclose, of course, because they're personal and private, and Lord knows I have those. But be true to yourself and your higher calling, and you will be okay. Live the life that the Creator meant for you to have, which is a life where you're detached from stress, pain, and fear. You want to cultivate that. How? By respectfully refusing to indulge in negative thoughts. And again, the Law of One said if you want to make it to 4D, you only need to be 51% service to others positive, which means you could spend 49% of the time indulging in negative thoughts, but you're still going to be okay. You're still going to be okay anyway, even if you spend 49% of the time on negative thoughts. Star Illumination says, I called out to God just a few days ago, David. Wow, here you are with your hopeful words resonating on every level. I think I'm tapped in here. Wow. Tracy B., my husband passed away in September. I can't explain how many what I feel is spiritual things happening since he passed. I felt it in my heart necessary to tell people about these experiences. There you go. It's exactly what we're talking about. Vicky Gray, I strive to be positive, loving, caring, and grateful. Is that why I'm so healthy? Yes. The harmony creates the photons that heal the body. And we saw how he was creating this loving consciousness for the child. And that's when he got the 100,000 photons. That was Puron Bear. Carolyn Davis, this info helps explain why houseplants respond to speaking kindly to them lately. I would totally agree. Can we pick up on photons coming from parallel universes? Yes, higher dimensions, absolutely. That's another big part of this. Your mental state creates an energetic vibration. So that vibration is harmony. If you want to create harmony, you're actually creating something that excites the field. It's a vibrational force of love creating like, attracting to like. Love does this, similar to the principle of sympathetic resonance. So I want you to remember the timeless principles of the higher power. This is so important because the law of one tells us that you are a being of infinite worth. And this emerges out of a discussion about possession and ownership, okay? It says green ray activation, which is the heart center, and that's where harmony comes from, is always vulnerable to the yellow or orange ray of possession. This being largely yellow ray, but often coming into orange ray. Fear of possession, desire for possession, fear of being possessed, desire to be possessed. These are the distortions which will cause the deactivation of your harmonic green ray energy transfer. So yes, we do, fear of possession is a funny one, right? But then also the desire to possess. So we want to give people their free will, but we also know that in certain ways, when you have a family, when you have, loved ones, that you are possessed by them and you want to be there for them. So you don't want to be afraid of that either. Very interesting, the way that they explain it in this balance. And it says, once the green ray of harmony has been activated, the ability to enter the blue ray, which is the indigo center, well, that's actually, no, the light blue, that's wisdom and communication, is immediate and only awaits the efforts of the individual. So wisdom, communication, honor, and duty. And then the indigo ray, which is the pineal gland area, third eye, is only opened through considerable discipline and practice, largely having to do with self-acceptance, not only as a polarized and balanced self, but as the creator. Wow, how many people are willing to do that, huh? See, I got to have them say it, because I didn't want to say this myself. Believe and visualize that you are the creator. Oh, David, you think you're God? No, I'm not saying, I may have practiced this exercise. I might have done this at one time or another. It sure doesn't feel this way right now. But again, visualize and accept yourself as the creator, and then you become a messenger, a humble messenger of service. You're trying to do service as an entity of infinite worth. How many times have you actually seen yourself as an entity of infinite worth? This will actually begin to activate your indigo ray. There you go. So let me see what else we got here. Core of service to others. Let's see. Yeah, okay, we'll do this last one here, and then what we're going to do is going to take some comments. It's all good, man. I'm so happy you guys are here with me today. Thank you so much for being here, by the way. This is great. Okay, so we are going to do this one last thing, because it is pretty fun. The law of one on the core of service to others. It says to serve one is to serve all. Therefore, we offer your question back to you to state that indeed the only activity worth doing is to learn, teach, or to teach, learn. That's the essence of promoting harmony. Sharing what you know. Sharing your wisdom. That's so important. There is nothing else which is of aid in demonstrating the original thought except your very being and the distortions that come from the unexplained, inarticulate, or mystery-clad being are many. So let's sorry, I whipped through that too fast. I want to give you a chance to read that. So what they're saying is that if you don't explain things, if you're not very articulate, or if you keep everything in mystery, you're not really helping as much as if you teach and learn in a very transparent and open way. And Vakapalo says, oh my God, David, I was reading those same passages on the law of one, the choice, this past week. This is a confirmation. Yeah. you're participating in the show with me and you're getting these synchronicities, and that's beautiful. I love it. Thus, it says, to attempt to discern and weave your way through as many group mind, body, spirit distortions as possible. This is, again, living alone is living without mirrors. That means socializing with people in the course of your teaching is a very good effort to make. We can speak no more valiantly of your desire to serve. Woo, booyah. And we got 2 more donations that came in, one of which was $100. Miles Servin says, may this $100 manifest a bunch of indigo ray photons. Looking forward to the upcoming Stavati shareholder meeting. Rock on, David. Thank you, Miles. Charlie Winter says, I am a co-creator and I'm not afraid to say it. That's right. Visualize, yourself as a being of infinite worth. How exciting is that? So Vitamin Marnie says, I have started to bless those who have come against me. Carolina Patriot, I've been doing this related to the monk's walk and Christians concerned about the Buddhism. Gene Novacek says, yes, the best way to learn is to teach. So yeah, you guys, I'm reading your comments a little bit here. We got 3 hours, 25 minutes. Great show, says Angela. You're a blessing to this chat room. Accepting instead of expecting, says Rio Dragon. So yeah, when we're looking at all these issues in the world and we're having all this trouble, it's very important to remember how these biophotons work, and that cultivating that personal harmony is a wonderful thing. 7 Geometric says, I offer 3 medium work for hospice patients. I show instant non-local proof of the soul. Your books have led me to interpret these enhancements and healing. A hotspot unlocked for me is a sign to serve others for free. Thank you, sir. Thank you. We really appreciate the donation. So, yeah, I'm happy to be here every Sunday afternoon, says Johnny. I'm also letting people be where they are. We may not change their mind, but we leave the information with them, says Carolina Patriot. That is great. So, okay. I think what we're going to do now is Arroya Lovelight says, walk through the adversity, maintaining your loving heart, remain as pure as the day you came into it. I love you all. Kiko the Ineffable says, another show shining that glorious love and ineffable light oh so brightly. Thank you everyone for vibrating. Yeah, I feel really good about these shows. I mean, we're not getting the highest view count that we've ever had, but it's quality, not quantity. And I'm trying to do really good quality for you guys. I appreciate that you're here. I appreciate your vibrations. I appreciate your blessings. All right, meditation time. That's right, Serena. Let's do that. Okay, so we know that this works. We know that this technology exists. There's lots of things to be concerned about. So let's dive right in now to our global peace meditation. I'd like you to close your eyes, put both feet flat on the floor, and just take a nice, deep, healing breath in. Let it go. Then take in another nice, deep breath. You may want to go in through the nose, out through the mouth. Just let it go. And again, since we make long pauses here, if any ads come up, just hit skip. You don't have to get knocked out of your state. Just stay in the state of loving abundance. And remember now how it was only when Puron Bear felt love for the sick child and wanted to heal the child that the 100,000 photons per second came out of his heart. Imagine the love that you feel for the earth right now. And imagine that these same photons are beaming out of your heart, non-locally upgrading the earth, giving us hope, giving us transformation. Feel your light moving through the planet. Feel your love transforming areas of resistance, areas of pain. Envision how these healing qualities have transformed you and transformed the world that you live in. Feel that radiance. Feel that glory. Knowing that as you cultivate and keep your harmony, you recognize that you are indeed a being of infinite worth, that you can become a messenger of the Creator. You can teach and learn and teach, help others see through the darkness, help others understand who and what they really are, why they are here, and where they are going. Embracing your divinity, embracing your truth, breathing in the love, breathing in the happiness, breathing in the glory of knowing that you are here now for this divine purpose. There is no accident about your life. There is no accident that you are here today, that you are witnessing these events unfold. Becoming more and more relaxed, drifting into that state of pure peace, feeling the consciousness resonance rising within you, being so grateful for who and what you are today. That attitude of gratitude, that harmonic ability to accept and love the self and to forgive yourself. For in forgiveness lies the stopping of the wheel of karma. Visualizing photons in your brain, that the neural cells carry these photons that the eyes actually are creating. Pictorial photons, isn't that interesting? Even a delayed reaction. The eyes are creating photons, perhaps some non-local resonance with the brain. As you imagine things, your eyes might be creating those images and then releasing them into the brain. Envisioning how your brain releases biophotons, 10 million neurons worth when people are visualizing white light. Laboratory studies proved this. And be receptive to the universe and the pictures of the universe, the dreaming of the infinite hologram. Be receptive to the everlasting dream of the Creator. Be receptive to that which transcends space and time. That you are so much more than a physical body. You are a soul having a human experience. Remember how much you are loved, how much you are a being of infinite worth, that nothing and no one can take that from you. Because we have so much to be grateful for, the Christ consciousness, the loving spirit, if you will, of Jesus. If you can handle that with me right now, imagine the love of the Christ, the love of the sacrifice and what that represents in the hero's journey. That payment that was made for us, that we may receive the glory of keeping our harmony intact and pure. Understanding that there is an intelligent infinity in the universe. Understanding the universe is a loving being, built for us to have these experiences that are very dynamic and very fascinating. We thank you, Father, Mother, God. We thank you, Jesus. We thank you, Mary. We thank you, heavenly beings, for all that you have done, all that you give us. And we ask that we send your light to all those areas in the world where there is stress or strife or pain. Send it to Iran, send it to Venezuela, send it to Minnesota, send it to Greenland, and to Europe. All of these flashpoints, we see it calming and easing. We see effortless grace and flow. Send it to the disclosure process. Being ready to receive the truth without a lot of stress or strife or strain or pain. Feeling good about who we are, about what we are doing. Feeling good about our lives, good about the universe. Feeling happy to be who we are, to be where we are at this time in history, this time in our lives. We are so grateful to be here. So grateful for what you share with us. We're going to sleep peacefully tonight. We're going to have nice deep rest. We set that intention. Set the intention that we will be redeemed by our own glorious efforts to go into higher and higher consciousness, feeling grateful for what we have, grateful for who we are, grateful for the processes that have brought us to this point, where we are today and where we are going. Feeling so much love, so much peace, so much happiness as we take stock of our spiritual earnings. For when we shore up our treasures in heaven, we know that we are graduating with high accolades. We are getting more and more currency in trade in the higher realms. And even if our lives may be devastated here on earth, we are creating good credit, good karma, building up a portfolio of investments in what really matters the most, which is investing in the heart, investing in the love that we have for one another, the opportunity to serve, the opportunity to be so grateful for our lives, for what we share, for where we are going and where we have been. We thank you, Father, Mother, God, for this incredible opportunity to come together in fellowship. We thank you for the light that you shine on us. We thank you for the glory. We thank you for the remembrance that there are photons of harmonic resonance out there that are very real, and that we share in that resonance with you when we feel harmony. The vibration itself creates the geometry. The vibration itself creates the harmony that we are seeking. The photons are created, just like we saw in Hans Jenny's experiment, the geometry of sand and water. As we feel love, we are organizing the field around us. We are making it cohere to reality. We are upgrading that which seems to be outside of our reach. We are not powerless. Somebody says, oh, what can I do? I'm just one person. You are intelligent infinity. You are a being of infinite worth. You have the spark of the Christ. The spark of Jesus' heart is in your soul. And it will always be there. And you can always call upon your higher power. You can always call upon this divine resonance and feel its presence. Feel how wonderfully it can transform even the most mundane issue into something sacred. There is nothing mundane about your life. You are moving into the sacred now. You're feeling yourself going deeper into trance, deeper into relaxation, deeper into a meditative stillness. And you are now radiating these photons out of your head, out of your heart, into the earth, transforming consciousness, upgrading DNA, easing areas of stress and strain, alleviating criminal behavior, alleviating crimes, alleviating terrorism and war. All these areas where strain occurs, we are upgrading those frequencies. We are lifting them up in vibration and in wholeness and in pureness. The purity, the stillness, the consciousness is there. And we are so grateful for that which we share with one another in this work. We are grateful for our lives, grateful for one another, grateful for the love that we have, grateful for the time that we spend in deep prayer, contemplative meditation. All of these things carrying such great resonance for us, bring us ever closer to the promise of the infinite, that as I do these things, these miracles, so shall you do them, and greater things. For I go unto my Father, Mother, God. And so it is. This prayer of Christ carries a deep resonance with us and is something we shall not ever forget. For in the grandest sense, we know that we are the light, we are the love, we are the one infinite Creator. And this is as it was, as it is now, and as it always shall be. And nothing and no one can ever take that from us. Adonai and Amen. Thank you, Father, Mother, God. Thank you very, very much. All right. So it's a great thing to be alive, isn't it? It's a great thing to be here. And I'm very happy that you guys showed up with me today. I'm very happy that you arrived. Lucinda Gollin says, I love the information that you share with us. Thank you. Richard Osterman says, I am love, I am light, I am one with the source. DNA isn't about fiber optics. It's actually the nervous system and the brain stem. You got to love the wavelength when you have titanium prosthetics like I do, says Demera 1980. Yeah, well, I mean, you know, even if you have metal in the body, it's going to accumulate a bioimage. It's going to accumulate, you know, these biophotons. That's why, like I said, psychometry, you hold on to somebody's comb and you start picking up on these visual photons. It might actually be stored in there. It's a really, really interesting thing. Ross Feinstein said, thank you so much for another Sunday School fun day, David. Scarlet Fire said, nice job. Gene Novacek said, harmonic photonics. Yes, all the moderators are coming out right now and speaking. Thank you so much, David. Love you guys, says Kat Collins. Judy Booth says, thank you. Great meditation. Teresa Dastrup says, thank you, Heavenly Father, Mother, God, for David. It's very kind of you to say that. Hollow Reed says, we just rose the vibration of the planet. Great work, everyone. Yeah, we still got 2,100 people watching. I mean, honestly, that meditation might be one of the most important parts of what I'm here to do. And we lose some people because they don't want to hear the ads, but it's, again, you know, just get your YouTube Premium. You don't have to worry about that anymore, and it's great to have it. So I'm very deeply honored to be here with you for however long I can do that. You know, again, there's lots of great force being applied on me. The weather is super intense, super difficult. There's all this stress and pain and fear. I thought I'd lost my laptop, and all of a sudden it was okay. So maybe things can work out, you know, maybe it's not so bad. Maybe you don't have to be so worried about things not going your way. Maybe we can learn to just be trusting in the universe a little bit more. Serena Bella, yes, your meditation brings us a collective amen. I think that's very true. Hit the like button, says Serena Bella. Davy Joe Weaver, you are a true loving brother, David, and I'm very grateful. Thank you, Davy Joe. I just realized I have my curtains open a little bit. That might mean the echo got a little bit worse today than it should be, but it doesn't sound very echoey. There's a little bit of an echo, but it was mostly back there. Okay. Sorry if that clap hurt anybody if you're listening on headphones. Thank you, David, for another wonderful presentation, clarity of what we see, hear, and speak. Somebody was asking me a fearful thing, the Prime Minister of Canada admitting in a video, China, you know, well, look, it's all going to work out. The more negativity we get on Earth, the more the principle of balance kicks in, the more that the positive is authorized to do what it wants to do. So the very fact that things are this freakish right now, I mean, yeah, it's probably going to go on for a while longer. The Alliance already told us a timeline of mid-February that it's all building up to that. So yeah, there could be more wars. There could be more unexpected turbulence. Let's hope that this Minnesota situation doesn't turn into anything civil. You know what I mean? But it could. There could be some standoffs. It could get very scary. There's a lot of scary stuff going on. I get that. I don't want you to feel scared. I want you to be confident. I want you to feel good about yourself. I want you to feel good about your life. Remember that you create these biophotons. You emanate these photons. They heal people. They emanate out into the environment, and you really can transform yourself and those around you by doing that. We are going to cover this again next week because this message is so deeply needed. I don't mind bringing up old stuff. I don't mind bringing up things that we talked about before. So we will talk about Dr. Glen Rein. We will talk about pyramid power, perhaps. Talk about the armor of God, the Ephesians 3:13. Maybe we do some of that. T-Star Illumination says, you make me feel hopeful again. Thank you for the energetic shift. I needed that. Turquoise Blue, you are loved and deeply appreciated. Thank you. Your guidance is so comforting and motivational. All the best to you. Thank you, David. Beautiful meditation. Never mind about repeating information. Repeat, repeat. That's how I learn. Yeah. It's important. You know, these are old topics, but it's like it's the canvas that I paint with. The DNA phantom effect, the transformation, Fritz Albert Pop, biophotons. These are very, very intrinsic things that can never really go. It can never run out of value. There's infinite value. And bring this up again. Our prayers and meditations are literally changing the world. People need to understand this. That's right. Any last-minute donations are appreciated but not necessary. That's true. Thank you if anybody did. Victory of the Light and Compression Breakthrough Adonai. This is Ashtara. Let's see, what else have I got here? The Sunday show really has saved my life. Thank you, David, so incredibly much, says Ants Jarvinen. Well, again, I hope it can save my life too. Sorry, Vibe High. Yes, you got timed out for something. I've said that comment several times on the show. We do have a couple moderators here who occasionally, you know, they're just trying to protect me, but sorry if that ever happens to you. But they only do timeouts. They don't just block you. Galactic Jedi, says Prince Royal. So much more to learn, says Carrie. Thank you guys so much. We're at the 3 hour and 55-minute mark. That's good for me. That's kind of where I wanted to stop it. So we will see you on the next time around, next Sunday, barring anything crazy. Thank you so much for watching. Love you guys very much. And barring anything crazy again, we will see you here next week. Thank you so much. Bye for now. And scene. Yep, I said it, didn't I? A little bit of irony for you there. What can I do? All right. Later. Thanks for watching. See you next time.